You're now listening to the Sauce Talk Podcast. What up, everybody? It's your boy, Siggity Sauce, and welcome back to the Sauce Talk Podcast. Today's guest is one of the most talented, hardworking, generous, caring, hilarious, witty, inspiring, brilliant, and lovable individuals I have ever met in my entire existence on this planet. An absolute modern day Renaissance man, if you will. I've known this gentleman since I was about 16 years of age, and I have watched him grow into this extraordinary, talented force that just never ceases to amaze me. Not only is he my boy, but he is a very inspirational figure in my life. I truly am his biggest fan in all aspects of life. He carried the North Jersey hip-hop scene on his bidak during his reign and changed its landscape forever. He constantly evolves himself creatively as well as spiritually, leaving no stone unturned while elevating everybody surrounding him selflessly. I truly could go on how much this dude means to me, but I don't want to delay the clapping of his angelic vocal cords any longer. Without this dude, I may never have ever had the name Al Sauce, as he is the giver and creator of said nickname. Without further ado, welcome my brother, Matt Miller, the condom filler, aka GDP.
Hello. What does one say after such a...
I was gonna go even harder, but
I don't know how you could have. That's by like the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me times like at least 500,000.
No way.
%. Yes.
I mean every word, my man. You're my guy.
You're the best.
Dude, we've known each other over 20 fucking years.
That's so cool.
Pre-GDP.
Oh, yes.
Pre-G. I'm talking Def Jam Vendetta.
I remember, bro.
Era.
That was like, it's funny thinking about you and like hanging out at the shop. I don't know if you remember this, but like, yeah, when I first met Al, it was just at a skate shop in Verona, New Jersey. Division East. Chilling at that skate shop, and like you were like, it's funny thinking about the Al I met versus like the man
way
you
different.
became,
well,
bro.
It's not different. My spirit is the same, but like physically, I changed multiple times.
Yes, no, your spirit is the absolute same. It's actually incredible. I guess it's such a cliche to start off with, but like how much has changed and how much has remained like so uniquely you. You're still ahead.
And likewise.
Yeah, true.
For real.
Yeah, I feel that. I was talking to someone the other day about like, you know, they were a little younger than me, but they were like, yeah, like I think about a few years ago and I was like a kid, like I'm such a different person than I was like then at that point in my life. And then I'm like, yo, that's cool. I'm like, I don't really feel that way.
Me
like,
either.
I've obviously like evolved, but I still feel like the same person I was when I was like 9 or 10.
At your core, yeah.
I'm still that dude. Like,
Same. Same.
Yeah, and it's sick. And there's some people need to make, I don't know, major adjustments or need to like go through shit and they feel like different people. Like I like straight up don't.
Yeah, same. I feel the same exact way as you do.
Cool.
It's wild. You know, if anybody knew how long it took me to get this guy in the fucking seat, I'm so happy that you're here right now. It's been a year in the making.
Full disclosure, I was begging Al to start a podcast for the longest because I just thought you, I don't know, you have something to say. You have a lot of really unique interests, and they're just a hilarious person that is just like, you're someone people want to listen to, just go off and go off on a tangent. But when it came time to do mine, it's just sort of like not something I don't know. I don't like think about myself as GDP. And like to go revisit all that shit, I just like it's just.
I'm gonna take you back, bro.
Yeah, whatever. I'm down. But I think I was putting it off because I just like.
I made you feel a little uncomfortable, probably.
I just didn't feel like talking about these songs that I think suck, like at this point in my life. But like, it's fine.
I know I'm not gonna hit them too hard, but I have to bring them up because
that's fine. I did it.
You know,
I did part of like the music I made when I was a kid. I think was like a fuck you to grown up me, being like, if you don't die, you're gonna have to live with the repercussions of like this behavior. So fuck you, grown up GDP.
But they're so good. I don't know if I'm biased, but like, dude, like. I love everything from the shitty stuff you did in the beginning to the stuff you do now.
It was shitty.
It's not that it was shitty. It was just you were learning, you were growing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a graffiti artist when they were a toy in the beginning. Revoke was a toy. Zephyr was a toy. These guys were toys. They turned into what they are.
I think about some of the people I was like making music with, my mentors, if you will, and like they were like dope when I met them. And a lot of them were a little older than me, but like even their older like whatever recordings and this and that, like they were like I think like so much better than me. I think they still are, but at least I've like kind of found my own like thing and, you know, caught up a little bit, but the bar was so high. And like, I think some of that early, like Man from Somewhere Else, Shape, Pistol, like all those dudes like knew who they were and were rapping like so good in a way that when I listen to my first shit, it's like that.
At a high level.
Very high level.
And they're not that known, which is pretty sad to me. They're known.
It's kind of beautiful. Those that know, but most people don't know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
Of course.
Like even A$AP Rock, for example, is extraordinarily known now, but even still, he's not really known.
He's still like that guy has a career.
Yes.
Like
especially Atmosphere.
Me and my friends didn't really like have careers. I was probably like the closest, and like I don't know if I would call it a career. I made a couple bucks here and there.
You definitely had a long reign at a good level.
You know what it is. It's one of those like from inside the club, it doesn't feel like that because like I'm just fucking putting tape over like water shooting out of fucking me, like all that. But it felt like that. But it's cool people like think that.
Well, that's why I want to do this pod because I want to put on, there's tons of people that follow me and just what I do every day, just being myself on the internet. They have no idea who you are. So that's the whole point of me having this podcast. It's guest based. And I want to introduce the world to the wonderful people that I know. And that's like my main thing with this. That's why I want to keep it local for the most part. I like to interview, famous people, but that's not my focus.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy this, and I want to show people who the people are that I love and who I met along my journey of 37 years of living.
Yeah.
So that's why you're here.
An interesting journey. I think you have a very interesting Rolodex and a very diverse Rolodex of
insanely diverse
people. So yeah, I think it's good you're doing this, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to go through basically your entire musical career. Not so much like the EPs and stuff. I'm mostly going to focus on like from main project to main project. And I just want to, kind of dabble in and go through it, show the world how you improved or just, you were already good from the beginning. But I mean, how you progressed and how you evolved and stuff. But before I dive into any of that stuff, I want to talk about pre-GDP. I want to take it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
I want to take it back to the birthplace, West Orange. What does the town West Orange mean to you? Because to me, my two favorite towns in New Jersey are Montclair and West Orange. And it's because of how culturally diverse they are. And I think that's so important, especially in your childhood growing up, for who you became as a man. I think that town is very responsible for that. So I want to just talk about where you were born in West Orange or where you grew up in West Orange and how it affected you and you growing up in general.
Yeah, it's funny. It's something I was actually thinking about today because I just like went and said what's up to my parents before I came here, who still live in West Orange. And it's just funny. I was driving around town and I'm like, this place like has nothing here. Like there's like hardware stores and like little grooming stores. I'm like, it's such Jersey suburban hell, but it's located in such a unique,
very unique area.
Like the most unique. I've read like statistically, Essex County is one of the most like racially diverse regions in the world.
And it's incredible.
Per capita. And it's like, yeah, the West Orange is a product of that. Like it's not rich and it's not like poor, but it's like everything in between. And there are like little notes of like maybe like some of your classmates aren't like broke, but like they're from really interesting walks of life. You got a lot of Newark, East Orange kids whose families work their fucking asses off to hopefully get them into the West Orange school system. And then you got people that maybe your parents couldn't keep up with, Livingston, Milburn, Short Hills.
Yep.
That like there's some money there. There's parents
Roseland,
got second
Essex
and third,
Fells.
Second and third homes type money. Like
even Verona and Cedar Grove, some cheese over there.
Some cheese over there. But there's no diss to those places. There's not the same diversity.
Not at all.
Like kids in Cedar Grove don't know what Haitian Flag Day is. And like in
Verona,
West Orange, Verona, same. But you know, it's funny. Montclair like has real culture.
That's my favorite. West Orange second.
It's almost like Montclair's New York and West Orange is New Jersey. Like,
yes,
I've never thought about it like that.
That's perfect. Yeah,
like Montclair like has like the actual markings. You can just drive there not knowing shit and like get out of the car and be like, okay, like there's like an independent cinema. There are tattoo shops. There's there used to be venues, you know, record stores, art galleries. There's a museum. There's a contemporary art museum. There's like the
eateries there are very New York-esque.
Phenomenal restaurants.
Go down the hill, Crown Fried Chicken. You have it all.
Yeah, Bloomfield's right there, and it can like get sticky.
Yeah,
you can walk to Newark from there, but like, and it's crazy. You know, in our lifetimes, Montclair has become such a desirable, really expensive, blown out place to be. And like, dude, even West Orange. Like, I work in photo, I work in video, and it's funny talking to like slightly older people. They're like, yeah, we're trying to like move to West Orange. We're looking at houses in Gregory. And I'm like, when I was growing up, like my friends' parents in Gregory area, like weren't like stylists and photographers and like people that worked in creative fields, you know? And like, it's still, the West Orange is still
that's interesting.
Kind of towny hell, but it's like kind of like catching this like spill off Montclair
that's
shit.
Interesting.
But then it's also still like,
I'm sure the pandemic had a lot to do with that. Because all the New Yorkers started moving here when that pandemic happened, raising value of all these homes. Totally.
West Orange, South Orange, really, really unique places. Montclair, you could live there and catch it. West Orange, it's almost like you kind of have to grow up there and be in the school system. Because if you just show up, like you're not going to notice it. There's nothing to do. So like there's no real reason to be there.
Yeah, but Montclair is definitely better. But West Orange is for sure the more... they're both pretty suburban, but the feeling of West Orange is a little more calm suburbia.
It's shittier. Like, it's like...
I guess. You came from there, so that's not that shitty.
Well, I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, if you walked around and looked at, the houses...
There's no nightlife.
And, like, the things to do. Yeah, you walk down Main Street in West Orange at night, like, it's kind of tricky.
You're right.
It's not somewhere you want to be.
Nah, especially when you go down by New Street.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, it's...
Gets gully out there.
It's no good, and there's not really anything even to do, like, during the day. It just looks a little, like, cuter, a little more like any town America.
Yeah. But so that town... I brought that up because that's where you're from, but I feel like I said, it was a very important part of your upbringing and how you became as a man. Because the best part about West Orange and Montclair is like you can go to like a little restaurant, even a Wendy's, and you see kids kicking it after school there, and you'll see literally a black kid, 5 black kids with white kids and Indian kids and Asians, and they're all getting along. Like they're cliquey, but they're friend cliquey. They're not culture cliquey.
Totally, yeah.
And I love that.
West Orange was like not very cliquey. You know, they were like the cool kids and the popular kids, but they all still like at parties and shit like that, or like even at school, you know, it's like it wasn't this this class system that normally you think about when you think of like a high school in the suburbs.
Yeah.
You know, it's like West Orange is like this suburban hell with the twist. You can see New York from everywhere. You know, it's like we're really close to like some real shit, but it's like motherfuckers, I feel like in West Orange, like don't go to the city. You're paying the property taxes to be there, but like Sunbridge and Tunnel motherfuckers aren't like.
No, I feel you totally.
Don't understand the train system.
At all. Yeah, they're that far removed from it.
But it's 14 miles away.
I know, it's very close, but it's still special. Even though all that being said, it's still a special place. Like I enjoyed going to parties, even when I was like when I met you and we would go to parties there. And I just loved, like, you could look left and see, like, the most thug hood motherfucker that will stab anybody in that place. And I could look right and see the most, you know, dead Kennedy style cat. You know what I mean? Or even then I could look this way and see some black nail painted Marilyn Manson gothic looking dude. Then look behind me and see somebody like you just said, like a lacrosse guy, football star. And they're all harmoniously getting together.
Yeah, they're all passing the blunt around.
I love that. And that's why that's important. That's why you are, to me, that's why you are who you are. That's a big
100%. And I think it's why all the people I grew up making music with also were who they were. We were exposed to some shit most, like, you know, dare I say, like, white kids aren't, like, exposed to. And it's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
What the fuck was I going to say? Whatever. Yeah, it'll come back to me.
Another thing that I think that was important of the beginnings pre-GDP is your parents. I don't know your parents as well as you do.
Definitely not.
But I know them. And from the minute I met them, your mother, your dad, they're very interesting people. And they also, obviously, because it's genetics and it's, they're the ones who raised you. So you're going to pick up their habits. You're going to pick up their interests naturally because you've been around them since the minute you came out of your mom. What was it like in your household growing up with your parents? Because I think your parents are the most eccentric, interesting, lovable, even though we were having a conversation before, but I think they're just two great people. I love being around them. I love when I come visiting your home, seeing that wallpaper in your dining room and having a convo with your mom or your dad. I think it's a great experience. So how were you brought up? Was it a strict household? Was it a religious one?
It wasn't religious. My dad, New York Jew, marries from Brooklyn, like Williamsburg, marries a North Jersey, like Italian, Irish girl. And like from where we're from, that's like a very common theme.
Yeah.
Jew marries an Italian. That's like the North Jersey pedigree.
West Orange does have a lot of Jews there.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like Teaneck, but
no,
it's not as culturally diverse.
Teaneck is like Jewed out.
Teaneck's like black or Jew.
Yeah, interesting.
Predominantly. So where West Orange has more of the other stuff mixed.
There's way more diversity.
In West Orange, yeah.
The Jewish thing going on in West Orange, like there are like a couple of more like religious little enclaves. They're not so much like in the public school system. They kind of keep to themselves. I think Teaneck is a little more like overtly Jewish.
Orthodox. So yeah, was your dad religious? Mom,
No,
not at all?
Nah, neither were very religious. We like celebrated holidays and like was like somewhat exposed to like the faith. You know what I mean? More so on my dad's side, 'cause it was really important to his family. Like my grandmother went to church, but I never really went to church with her. And then
Your
my
dad's
dad,
mother?
my mom's mother. My mom is
Catholic.
like
or
Christian. My grandma wasn't very religious, and then she got breast cancer. And
I'm sorry, man.
no, she's dead now. It's fine. She beat that, but she got breast cancer in like the 90s and made her pact with God that she would start going to church if she got through it.
She got better, so
and she started going to church. Which otherwise, like, my mom didn't grow up in a very religious household either. My grandfather, her father, which tied in something of a knot early on. Those are the two people on the cover of Holla.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later. I love that album so much.
Weren't very religious. My dad's side a little bit more so. We like went to temple and all that shit, and like I just always like it always just seemed like ridiculous to me, like fake. Even from a young age, I was like, this like doesn't add up.
Yeah, you knew early.
I started listening to like punk music pretty early, soon, like
very anti-establishment, anti-religion.
It's it all checked out. It checked all my boxes, but no, it wasn't a very religious household. My folks are cool. They're very unique people. It's like hard to explain. But
were they drug users in their younger ages?
No, not really. My dad drank some booze. He probably smoked weed. Like my dad told me he's never had a cigarette.
Wow,
wild, right? Never had a cigarette.
Good for him. That shit's terrible for you.
He didn't like weed. My mom smoked some weed growing up, but like neither of my parents have ever like done a hallucinogen. My dad drank quite a bit growing up. Like him and his friends were like drinkers.
Okay.
And it's cool. My dad still is like BFFs, those that are alive, with the same people he grew up with since like high school, sometimes middle school. Like my dad's had a very cool core group of guys he grew up with in Brooklyn. And
dope.
It's a beautiful bond. But they're like, how do I summarize, man? I will say, hilarious people. The sense of humor at my home growing up was no holds barred. Like, my mom's got a fucking big mouth. She's a nice lady.
Mom,
she's a sweet lady, but she's a character.
I love
and
your
like,
mom. She's the best.
There's like no joke that is off limits in my household, and I think you can certainly hear that in some of my music, especially the earlier stuff. And even to this day, like dude, I talk to my parents. I make jokes with my parents the same way I do with my friends. Like there was never really that filter.
So your relationship was very friendish, like maybe that's the wrong.
No, like
you were very comfortable with each other. You could tell your parents not to tell them anything, but you could be honest and be yourself around them. You didn't have to really walk on eggshells.
For sure, more or less. But then also like, drinking, smoking, drugging. I was just like kept to the side. They weren't like strict, but maybe like tried to be a little bit, my mom a little more like on it than maybe some of my other friends' parents. I was the first, and like it didn't really work. I just like didn't listen, but like we fought a lot growing up, and like she just like, I think to this day, I just like never totally understood which way I was going. And like, I understandably, like the people and decisions I was making, the places I was going, like my parents didn't know from like living a creative life. And like from a young age, it's like I'm hanging out with older people and like going to places to essentially what? Like,
you're the firstborn. They tend to be a little more rebellious.
Trespass on public property, do dangerous things to trespass on public property, like riding skateboards, going to loud rock concerts with like messages that like, what did they know from that? Like they read the news, you know, it's like fucking kill your teacher, hail Satan shit. Like, they got it, but they didn't like get it.
Yeah,
there's a few generations between us. You know, my dad's 80 years old now, bro. Like they kind of started their family late
in life.
Later, my dad's 10 years older than my mom, so like, yeah, he had.
Mom looks great for her age. I haven't seen your dad in a while.
Dude, they both look incredible. It's crazy to think they're that old, but
yeah, God bless.
Yeah, man. I don't know. They're unique. It's like they're unique.
They're definitely unique. How was their music interest growing up? Because obviously you not only do you create music, but you're a big fan of music of all different genres. Growing up in your house, see, like for me, my parents separated at a young age. My mom was huge with music. She's Puerto Rican, so she used to play. I'll never forget. She had a Sony boombox in the kitchen, and that's where my mother was a good cook, monster baker.
Fuck yeah!
And there was stacks of CDs and tapes, and there was always something new playing. So my music tastes and my love for music comes from my mother, 100%. My dad likes music, but he's fucking stale in comparison to my mother.
Right.
Were your parents heavy into music, or is that something that you started within your household?
Honestly, it was me. My dad a little more than my mom. My mom would tell you she really likes music, but like I don't really remember her playing much music around the house growing up. Maybe a little bit in the car. She liked like Bob Dylan or like Mamas and the Papas or like the Carpenters or some shit, but very bass line. You know, my mom's like not really a music head. My dad a little bit more. My dad would show me like Chuck Berry, Woody Guthrie. It's like some of the greats, which dude, to this day, like me and my dad vibe on country music, folk music, Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee. My dad loves like Creedence and like all that stuff he showed me, which resonated with me at a young age. And then as I got a little bit older, I really, as I started like learning more about the history of music, of American music, of world music, like coming back to really appreciate some of those artists. You know, me and my dad like fuck around and like just talk about Jimmy Rogers for, hours on end, and like what he knows from just growing up and what I know from like, watching YouTube and getting lost on Wikipedia, kind of shit.
Going down rabbit holes, yeah.
But like, honestly, the vast, breadth of like my music interest kind of just came from me. Like I just like heard the radio, kind of say
you started that, yeah.
Saw MTV and was just like hooked.
Yeah, we grew up because you're only a year younger than me, so we're practically the same age. I'm 37, you're 36, right?
I'll be 36 on September 30th.
Yeah, so we're
Libra.
We're practically the same age.
Yes,
and we grew up in a really special time.
Mm-hmm.
Not only like music wise, but technology.
It's fucked up.
We were able to, some homes still had rotary phones.
I did. My home had a rotary phone, bro.
VHS tapes, Betamax, whatever you had.
I had VHS.
And all the evolution up to now, it's blowing in game cartridges.
Yes. We lived through an epoch, bro. It's like
very special. Our age group,
dog. We lived through something that might happen. That might take 100 million years to happen. We lived through it, dog. And like we're not that old yet, but like I remember a world without cell phones, and I'm still pretty decently tech savvy.
Yeah, dude. I had a beeper. I had a couple beepers. I still have them, bro.
My parents wouldn't let me get one because they like weren't sure what I was gonna be doing with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me get a beeper.
Dude, I had all that. I had beepers. I still do. I have them all in my fucking. I still have my sidekicks.
Yeah,
I'm an archivist. So.
Yeah, I just threw away a sidekick recently.
Which one was it?
Like I think the 2.
I love that one.
Fuck, Maybe, dude. Maybe I still have
Was it the
it.
Tony Hawk edition?
No, it was
I need
before
that
all
one.
that.
I
It
need
was,
that
I know the one you're talking about. It was.
That Dwayne Wade had one too. It was cream.
Dude, what happened was a friend of mine got in some legal trouble, and this girl I was seeing at the time gave me her sidekick just to like. I was like, I like don't want this phone right now. My man's calling me wild shit, and like she's like, just take my sidekick. I never like switched service, but
Speaking of sidekicks, I don't want to go too much off this, but do
great
you remember
phone.
IP Relay? Dude.
what was it?
Dude. Dude.
Was
So
it for prank phone calls?
yeah. So
yeah,
it's
I
not
remember.
for prank phone calls, but you used it for prank phone calls.
Right.
IP Relay was that app on Sidekick. It was a service for deaf people to communicate. So you would type, you would call somebody, they would get like an automated prompt like, hi, this is IP Relay. Somebody on the other line is trying to get in contact with you. They're deaf and they want to speak with you. Do you accept this call? It was kind of like a jail call type thing, or like a call and collect. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So once you accepted the call, whatever you typed, that person had to say it to the other line. Dude, we used to abuse these people, bro.
Oh
I used to
my
do it sitting in
God.
the room with people. 'Cause they would have no
remember this
idea.
shit. Yeah.
Yo. Then we used to do it to our own machine just so we could hear grown-ass men saying the most obscene shit.
I would love to sample that now.
Me too, man. I used to drop gems on them.
Dog,
Jewels.
I bet.
You know how I
Do you
get
have
down.
recordings of that? Knowing you fucking archived it.
That's the one thing I don't, but you know how I get down.
Oh my God.
I don't play games. Anyway, so growing up, since you were the first, was there a particular genre growing up that you were obsessed with at first? Because clearly you don't leave any genre on the table. You fucking fuck with them all. But was there any particular one that you started with that you loved and then you started branching off? Like for me, hip hop was always my number one.
Right.
And then I went everywhere. But was there any particular genre that you favored growing up?
I think there is good and bad music in every genre.
Of course.
Ever. You know, I'm a firm believer of it. But in some genres, you got to look a little harder than others, or some genre. It just depends what your point of entry is, I guess. But I was so young, man. It was really just MTV. Like 1994, I would have been 7, probably around then. Like my mom didn't want me to watch it, but I was watching it. The Box.
Oh my!
I know you remember The Box.
I used to make my mother buy me videos up the ass.
Yeah. My folks wouldn't let me. So I had a couple friends whose like parents didn't give a fuck. So we used to do that. So it was really like, early on, like hip hop and then just 90s rock, dude, like Bush, Smashing Pumpkins.
What's better than
Silverchair.
90s grunge rock? Dude?
Yeah. Grunge, post grunge was like, I was just
Alice in
obsessed.
Chains.
MTV was, I sound like an old fuck, but MTV was playing music videos.
MTV
and
was
like,
raw.
Yeah.
Back then.
There was cool bands getting chances. Those are classic times in music and in hip hop and in just culture in general, and a cultural shift from like 70s, 80s to like 90s, 2000s.
Hairstyles, clothing, we got to watch all that transition.
And now we get to watch it all come back. It's a real
Which is
mind fuck,
really
bro.
wild.
Yeah, I might be
Even
too something.
toys, all that stuff
Yes.
is coming back. Dude,
Yeah.
the 3/4 inch figures,
Right.
all that stuff. There's that company Super 7 that has that reaction line. They're doing all them carded figures that are like the same size as the Star Wars, but they're doing hip hop licenses.
Right.
They're doing it all, man.
Because I think it's almost like the world is becoming so disposable that we're really romanticizing a time when things just felt a little bit more organic, a little bit more special, a little bit harder to find even, dude. Fucking major labels are pressing cassettes. Like, why?
Everything's coming back around.
Because the inaccessibility has a charm to it that this new generation of kids missed, but has come to realize is like maybe important or like maybe like cool.
It's also that. I also just think it's that now all the kids our age, we're established in careers. We have money. We have fuck you money to just buy whatever we want.
And
so
we're
collecting it all.
Totally. And we didn't feel that same societal pressure from our parents to behave like grown-ups. You know what I mean? Like it was like a certain like, no, you now it really, I think it goes back to like Catholic guilt, honestly. Like it's woven into the fabric of our society. But whatever it were, it's like our parents felt a certain like obligation to quote unquote grow up.
Yeah.
And you go to California, honestly, for the first time meeting like grown-ups in California, my friend's parents out west, I was like, whoa, these people are like so loose. Like they didn't like...
I've never been, man.
Really? Go to California.
I don't
man.
go nowhere, man. I'm a fucking Jersey guy.
It's time you do. You would love it, bro. You would love the world. It's interesting.
I know.
It's good out there.
But now I have a kid, so I have to wait till he gets older. He'll enjoy it with me.
Okay.
He'll have a childhood I never had.
Good.
Put it that way.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the point, right? That's the point of fucking having children. But,
so basically you could say rap and rack. Sorry.
Rack and rap.
Rock and rap were your two ones that you basically started with.
That's what was, that's what was popular when I was growing up. It's what really, and I guess what resonated with me from a very, very young age, definitely.
Is there a memory of the first CD you ever bought or cassette?
Cassette, yeah. The first cassette I ever bought was Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy, Infinite Sadness, double cassette.
The double cassette.
I still have it. I was probably, funny. It was probably right around now because I got it for my birthday, but my parents let me buy it. Like, my parents were never like that big on like me buying music. My mom kind of saw it as like a waste of money. She grew up with some Great Depression surviving. My grandfather, dude on the cover of Holla, son of 11. Immigrants came over, their names are on Ellis Island, like on the wall there. Like,
oh, wow.
Grew up in Newark. My grandma grew up in Newark around the corner from him. Like, my grandfather grew up poor as shit. And that was kind of impressed upon my mom. So, like, when I was, like, trying to go to the record store, they weren't like, pick out something you want, honey. Like, I had to, like, fight for it or, like, steal it or, like, dub it. And, like, they were like, you waste all this. Not my dad. My dad was cool. But honestly, on my mom's side, I was like, you waste all this fucking money on you. You listen to it in 6 months. You're not even. And that's not true. I still listen to records I bought when I was fucking 9 years old. But like.
So that was your earliest memory of what you actually bought?
That was, yeah. It was the first tape I ever bought. And then from there, I kind of lit the spark. And like, my grandma was a little cooler about taking me to the record store. So like, she would like let me fuck around and buy some stuff to like my mom was kind of like, you don't need it. It's a waste of money type shit. So
the grandparents are always the ones that come around.
Always, dog. Yeah. So my grandma actually really helped. Dude, she bought me like shit. Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream, Offspring Smash, Deftones Around the Fur, Blink-182, Dude bro. Ranch, like
joints, bro. Deftones,
big wig, like dude, because compact disc world was still a thing, and she lived in Springfield. My grandparents moved from Newark to Springfield.
I forgot about that.
So that was like they had actual like kind of underground shit. Remember that?
Shit, holy
dog.
Fuck. You just fucking
very
opened
important
up Pandora's
store,
box.
man. Very important store. So there was one kind of near me and one right by my grandma. So my grandma would take me. And, dude, they had like the actual punk shit and they had like actual like indie labels. Shit. Yes. And you could listen to it. If you were a member, you could listen to the CDs. Like I had headphones at the store.
You just fucked me up, G.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
So my grandma, like I would like write her like she would take me shopping for my birthday. I could spend like $100 or something, which like back then was like enough to a little kid that was like sick.
That's a lot of
bread.
bread.
A bunch of fucking CDs and
she was
hats
cheesed
and
up.
shirts.
She had that Wisconsin cheddar.
They did all right. Yeah, my grandfather grew up broke as shit. Worked his ass off as an electrician and like did all right for himself.
Damn.
Like my grandma invested well and like
That's a good memory.
They came up harder than a lot of their siblings. They weren't like wealthy, but
of course they were well off.
Yeah,
they were comfortable.
They were comfortable for sure.
I'm trying to think of a memory for me. See, the thing is, my mom's like me. She was, God rest her soul. She was a very interesting woman, and she was she loved music, but she also wasn't smart with money like me. We loved material items. So we used to take trips to Sam Goody and all that shit.
Oh yeah, I used to work at Sam Goody.
Coconuts.
Bro. Yeah, I know.
We used to go to all those places, and she would rack up on them kitchen CDs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm talking anything from Gypsy Kings to Sade to Jodeci. Like bought it all. You know what I mean?
Very cool.
Bobby Caldwell, all that shit.
I love Bobby Caldwell, bro.
People
don't know Bobby Caldwell.
He's the GOAT.
We've never talked about that.
No.
He is one of the most underrated.
The GOAT.
Dude, Carry On is the best song I've ever heard.
Dude.
Right?
Bobby Caldwell fire.
He is fire. And people like they know Do for Love, but they don't know who it is. I'm like, he is the most soulful fucking old white guy ever.
Fire. But we used to go there and we used to rack up.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the first, because I bought so much cassettes. Cassette singles were huge back then, so I still have them to this day.
They were easy to steal too, because there wasn't as much security.
Easy. So the only memory that I can honestly say that I remember vividly was because it was taken away from me. So my mom goes to Sam Goody, the one on Willowbrook Mall that was next to KB Toys.
Yeah.
If you
I worked at the one at Livingston Mall, but I remember the one, it was a bigger one at Willowbrook.
Yeah, so
I bought Doggy Style there.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's so weird.
Stop.
So we go in there, and there was a time when Doggy Style came out. Yo. So my mom would have a stack, and I would just slide joints in. So I remember I bought Doggy Style, the cassette tape, parental advice on it.
Yeah,
I love the artwork, and I threw it. I slid it in her pile, and there was another tape. I don't remember what it was. It might have been Domino or something. I love Domino. Me and my dad love Domino together.
Dope.
So, which a lot of people don't know who Domino is. He had a couple hits.
Yeah, no.
A couple of joints.
What was the big?
The big one, I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
1, 2, 3, and this is OG. I forget the name of the song though. The Ghetto Jam. The Ghetto Jam is about to slam. That's good. That's Domino. So anyway, I slipped that in, and we get in the car, and I'm bold. So we get in the car. We had a tape deck, obviously. So I throw in Doggy Style, bro. I don't know why, but I must have hit like fast forward. You know that one part? I'm going to say, instead of dropping the M, I'm going to say zigging. All my ziggins and my bitches, where your motherfucking hands in the air. That shit came on. Yo, my mom looked at me, immediately took it out and said, "You're not having this," and gave it to my fucking father. So like it took me a long time to fight with her to get it back. Yeah, of course. It's Snoop. That's Doggy Style.
I know, but he's a fucking New
she
Jersey
spent money
Italian
on
guy.
it. She didn't want to throw it away.
He's like, I'll listen to it. He's like, hey, he's like, yeah.
Nah, my mom and my dad both grew up in Patterson, New Jersey.
Sick.
My mother was born in Puerto Rico, and she moved here at an early age. But my dad was born and raised in Patterson. They used to live on River Street, which is super hood right now. So my dad loved a lot of soul and funk. He was big into Cameo and the Brothers Johnson and
dope.
All that funk. George Clinton.
Your dad's a soulful cat.
Yeah, in a way, he's a little shot, but he's definitely one of a kind.
Your father is one of a.
When God made him, he broke the mold.
Dog,
for sure.
I kind of just come to Gridfest to people watch your dad. I just like, I don't know if you ever noticed this. I'm like, I just want to like watch this dude interact with the world. I think it's so sick.
You know how many texts I got last weekend after Gridfest? They're like, "Yo, your dad's a G."
Yes.
I'm glad you guys feel this way.
It's when you're inside the club versus when you're outside the club, things always seem different.
Nah, he's a good dude, man. He's held it down.
He's proud of you, man.
When my mom died, bro, he held it down. Yeah. He took care of it, regardless of.
Yeah, men are men, and love is love.
Men,
but like,
he's a good dude.
He's clearly very proud of the person you've become.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think he thinks you're cool. I think he thinks you're an interesting guy.
I would hope so, I guess, But yeah, a lot of people love my dad. My dad's a very lovable guy.
Yes. Oh my God.
Very lovable guy.
Yeah, dude.
It's hard to ever hate my dad. Unless you're like...
He would talk his way out of it, though. He's a smooth operator. Like, he wouldn't let you hate him.
He'll give you the shirt off his back all day of the week.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But she gave it to him for a while, but I remember, like, my mom's face, and that was, like, my earliest memory of that. And then she just kind of, like, realized, like, it's just music that I love. I'm not going to use that language too much around the crib. Like, I genuinely love the music. My mother was a music fan, so she stopped that and started giving it all to me.
That's very cool.
Letting me buy whatever. But it took a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she was shocked, because that's a pretty shocking album.
Dude, like
W balls.
Exactly. If you're licking us, W balls.
Like, she heard that and was like...
Now it's so commonplace. Like every parent realizes music like that exists. Like that was some shit like people hadn't heard said on a record. And I'm gonna let an 8-year-old listen to it.
It's wild. It's not right, but
yeah,
I really don't agree with that Sexy Red and all these women that are like just so vulgar. Like Lil' Kim was bad back in the day, but this is like beyond Lil' Kim.
It's something. Yeah, I get it.
I don't.
Well, it's like remember that game where you hold the baseball bat? It's like one hand goes above the other, and you just keep grabbing until you get to the top. It's like that's like shock value. That's like how wild can you be? Like, okay, I have a tattoo on my hand. It's like, all right, well, I have 4 on my face, and they suck. And it's like, all right, well, I said the most ruckus, raunchy, fucked up thing I could say. It's like, all right, well, I'm actually gonna like say something more fucked up and like.
Yeah, it's like
she was on the
top
radio
over
talking
the
about
next,
pissing on girls, and it's like,
but it's getting too much, man. It's crass. It's not even like stylistic or creative. It's just blatant.
I mean, what's good is good, and what's bad is bad,
and that's bad.
It's like, yeah, I don't. I'm not putting on Sexy Red, but I wish her the best.
So, with all that aside, what made you realize growing up that like you wanted to take music seriously? Now I know you were in multiple bands and stuff. The earliest recorded music that I have of yours is when you were in the Post Office Gals, which is that grindcore band. That was in the era of MySpace and stuff, when that stuff was like real popping on there. That was like your first real recorded music, right? Or was there something before Post Office Gals?
There were a bunch of bands. So, I grew up like playing in high school. I was in bands. You were a drummer. I was a drummer. And so probably the first recordings of me playing music are from 8th grade, definitely by freshman year, like me, my homie Trevor, and my homie Madden, who is...
Sean Madden's the best.
Totally. And it's in his own right a fucking enigma.
He's the best.
He is like his own...
I gotta have him on here.
You should. Oh, he'd be so funny,
him.
bro. He would do
him.
it. But, dude, Madden can't start in a band to this day. Like, he and I grew up, like, nerding out on music. West Orange was, like... Nearby towns had, like, scenes. Bloomfield, Montclair, like...
Yeah, all day.
Where else? It's like kids were like starting bands, kids were going to shows, like bands like in West Orange, it like didn't matter to many people. And it's funny, it's because like me and Sean started going to shows when there like was a scene for a minute. There was like a VFW right down the street from where we grew up, which we started going to shows at when we were literally in like 5th grade.
Wow.
6th grade. And like we were just really early to like doing stuff like that. And then by the time we were kind of the age, like all of our friends would be doing stuff like that, 13, 14, 15. There wasn't any scene in West Orange, but like we just... And a couple kids, as big as our high school was, like...
Created the scene.
A handful of kids gave a shit about... the punk bands and the hardcore bands of the day, or like the smaller bands of the day, or like any bands really, like like subculture art. There weren't too many creatives I grew up with, but the handful of us kind of like fucked around. So whatever, by I guess like 12 or 13 was like recording music with him in a band called The Citizenship, which kind of started out as some like Clash, almost like Ramones, like silly, sing-songy, but like I mean, it wasn't the Clash, but I know, you know what I mean.
Inspired by,
sure, Operation Ivy inspired type, like whatever.
I love the Ramones, by the way. Yeah, Rock and Roll High School Forever. I love that movie.
Yeah, important film.
Very important film.
But yeah, so from that, and then got a little more melodic hardcore. Broke up with the same dude. Started another band called Spring Break. And they got into like grindcore. Played like
I didn't know this stuff.
Alex Beanstalk and I started a band with our homie Ryan Teal.
I remember that kid.
Yeah, I just saw him the other week.
Alex Beanstalk.
He's still doing.
You don't know who I am, but I know
he might. He might. He's still living a creative life. I released a book of his a while back, but he's still doing his thing. I really learned a lot about playing music with him. He and I were close friends. Me being in Madden, I feel like from our class or whatever, our grade, we're like the kids that were like trying to figure out how to start bands.
And that was when you realized like you want to do this like for the long haul?
Nah, I kind of always knew.
You just
like,
knew.
I mean, granted, like I'd argue that like I didn't. I've always like didn't have my hands in something kind of musical, but yeah, as like a child, you know what I mean? Like 2nd grade, like what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, like a rocker, like a rock star, a musician. Like,
yeah, that's dope. But the Post Office Gals was probably your first one that was like, you actually went on tour with that band. So that was like your first real big deal, right? That was like your entry, your foot in the door, if you will.
Yeah, we had like help with like press and booking and like recording and like there wasn't much money, but like there was like, there was a little bit of infrastructure.
Didn't that band come about like in a funny way? Like you kind of you kind of rolled into that somehow,
they were already
right?
a band, and they needed a drummer, and I was still in high school and I joined. But by then I'd already like been in a bunch of bands and played shows, and like I hadn't toured. I just I played a bunch of shitty shows and like a handful of good ones.
Is your drums on that first album?
No, they had a drummer before me, and he recorded. But by the time I joined the band, the record wasn't out, and then it came out.
Oh, so you just were basically their tour guy.
I mean, I was a permanent member, but we started demoing songs for like what was to be a full length, and there were just things working against us. I broke my wrist skateboarding. Oof. Our keyboard player and guitar player, who was like who was still a dear friend, but was like the kind of band dad. They were dating and they were like on the outs. There was a relationship within the band. It just kind of fizzled out when we were writing songs that, I mean, I would say were cooler than the one on that record, but we were playing them live. I don't think there's any fucking actual like relic of those demos, but
I would call it a blessing though, because that's essentially the birth of GDP in a way.
So, dude, like, funny, the first proper GDP recording session, studio time I booked, was this dude. What the fuck was his name? Steve. What the fuck was his name? He played in a couple bands. I think he played in that band Charge, like a Jersey Shore, like Bad Brains inspired, like surf kind of like hardcore punk band. But whatever, he had a studio, and the people from Post Office Gals, like Daniel and Chick Jess, who played keys, picked me up from the studio when I was working on that record. We were still Post Office Gals, and like, yeah, our drummer Miller is like a rapper or something apparently. And I like put the CD in that I was like working on. They're like, whoa.
I remember the first time I ever heard you rap. Actually, let me go back even further. When did you realize you wanted to rap, and what made you even try to mess around freestyling and stuff? Because that's what you were known for in the beginning. You were known for your freestyle skills. Your off-the-top skills were always on point at such a young age.
Yeah.
Always on point.
No, that was the only reason I ever thought to like try to even do it. But dude, it literally like started from like, I was a little kid and my parents would like give me a bath. You know, my dad I would take a bath, and I had a little shitty red. People probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It was like a Sony little tape player. It looks like a red macaw, like a parrot. It's like a little
waterproof
red
one.
It wasn't waterproof. I don't believe it was waterproof, but it was like red with like a little like yellow, green, white stripe. It had a little microphone you would plug in too.
Oh yeah.
And literally they would, I would take a bath and like my dad would like wash me and then like put on some music and like just let me chill in the bathroom. I had toys. So like I would get like my little playtime and they would and then they would play like literally, dude, it was like old McDonald shit. Like I was a child and the tape would end and I'd be in the bathtub like fucking around and I would just like keep going. I would like run with it and I would just like make up songs. Like that is my first memory
this
of
is
like
a world premiere, I think, right here. I've never heard this.
Why would I ever talk about this? Who the fuck would care?
Me.
Yeah, like, this
That's
isn't
insane.
This isn't
so
something
you were young.
When I realized like
taking a bath, you're young.
Yeah, child, dude. Yeah, like a little
Holy
like a child, like off like nursery songs. And
that's
like
bananas, bro.
Like I would always want to listen to that shit, like Mother Goose, and like literally like the first songs you hear is like a baby.
This was in Stone then. This was like meant to be
in Stone, but it was my first memory of like the tape would end and I would just keep singing. And I don't know what my parents were thinking because I was just like, dancing like no one was watching. And I would have like my little fucking like scuba diver toys. And I'm like just splashing water and like shoving dinosaur toys up.
That's
fucking,
how you got so good at off the top.
I don't know. Bro. Like it just, I like doing that. I was a fucking loudmouth little kid. I was obnoxious. And like, maybe I've never told anyone this. I don't know. Maybe like a girlfriend somewhere. But like, from there, like MTV, started being a thing. In the next couple of years, rap. Like I remember watching MTV. I remember seeing the news that Tupac died. I remember seeing the little scroll on the fucking bottom of the screen that Biggie died. I was aware of what they were doing, and man, I don't exactly remember where, but like, yeah, you would just like rap with your friends. Like everyone had like heard the new P. Diddy song, and like,
of course,
you fuck off. It's lunch, it's recess, and like I just thought that shit was cool, and then like. Yeah, I don't know. Early on, it was just like something that came like easy to me. And then like my peers were like, holy shit, like what? Like,
dude, I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I met you when DE opened. DE opened in 2001, I believe. I was talking to Dave the other day. I think he said he thinks he opened it like in the end of 2001.
Let me think.
For some reason, I remember.
If it wasn't one, it was two. Yeah. Right around there. No, you know what, dude?
I think it was. He thinks it's 2001. He thinks I'm bad.
It was. I can do the math. It was 2001.
But the end though, at the end of the summer though, it wasn't in the summer, right? I have a feeling it was fall for some reason.
It would have been mid 2001. I think, yes. Because I remember we were still in middle school. It was 2001. Because by the time September 11th happened, Division East was already open.
I was in high school at that point. I was a freshman, I believe.
You lived around the corner from it.
Yeah, right around the corner. I remember walking by and seeing the brown paper on the windows. So what the fuck's going on? So I used to peek in. I see them building this ramp. You got to remember, like, I wasn't a skateboard much. I mean, I had an old Nash. Do you remember Nash skateboards?
Of course.
Dude, I had a hot pink Nash.
I had a neon orange.
I had a hot
with the
pink
tail
one?
scraper with the tail block.
Yo, my shit had the checkerboard grip tape on it.
The worst bearings, dude. It went like 1 mile an hour.
So I had that, and I used to mess around, but I remember going by. It was 2001. You know, I'm a freshman in high school. And I remember like looking, seeing what the hell's going on there. And he was a very friendly guy, and he would let anybody come in and look.
Sure.
And I saw there was a skate ramp being built, and so I'm like, what the hell is this? Anyway, fast forward to them actually opening, and that's how I meet you. I mean, you grew up with his little brother Pad Dowd. Shout out to Pad. Gotta have him down here soon.
I talked to him fucking 2 days ago.
I talk to him once in a while.
Hell yeah.
I love that guy. But I remember meeting all you guys, you know, Jan Trempota. Shout out Jan the Don, scooping biddies up real nonchalant.
Yeah.
I remember, my memory of Jan really quick. I remember when I first met him, he took a girl across the street to the Verona Park and just shoved his tongue in her mouth across the street. I'm like, this guy's a fucking boss. I was done, bro. Because kids we were so young. Like this guy's just grabbing girls.
We're at Division East, and he just like went across the street to make out at the park.
He took a girl to the park and just made out with her.
That's very young. Larry Clarkian.
Yo, you know how he is, man.
Oh, I do.
That's why like that line resonated so well.
It wasn't.
That's how he is.
It wasn't an exageration. No.
Jan the Don is a real ladies man,
a charmer.
But I remember seeing that. That's how I met you. And from that point on, we used to hang out once in a while. And I was kind of like, I used to skateboard, but I was horrible. But I loved the culture. I loved the music that went with it. I loved watching skate videos. So I just was that kid that couldn't skate, but was cool and just hung around. So I used to hang around you guys. And one day, I remember going to a West Orange carnival. It was all the way at the end of Pleasant Valley Way when it meets kind of by where South Mountain Arena is.
So it's a little above South Mountain Arena. It's where
what was that carnival?
Pleasant Valley Way meets Northfield. And I just want to say, as a little side note to that location, dude, like the Ramones have played there. They used to do events there like way back in the day, like in the 80s. They would have events? Outdoor concerts. Because it was just a field. It was an empty field. Now it's like a fucking mini golf place. And they opened a McClune's there, and it's like a cute little like lake and all this. But dude, they did very cool concerts there way back when, like before our time. I've had some OGs have told me some stories. Like, dude, the Ramones have played there.
That makes that even more
among
special.
Like all sorts of other, like of the time, like bands.
So I remember going to that carnival that one day, and you were there with a bunch of your West Orange cronies.
This is a few years after. Like we had already we didn't
record yet. You and I.
We hadn't recorded yet, but like we were like. It wasn't like, dude, when I met you, I was in like middle school.
Oh, no, we knew each other way before that.
You were already kind of out of your like long white tee.
Yeah. Oh, my Galaxy tees.
Yeah, you were like going to the gym by then.
Yeah, that's when I started slimming up.
You started getting sexy by then, but like it wasn't long after.
Nah, but I remember going there and just seeing you, and I don't know what happened, but you started freestyling. That was the first time I actually really sat down.
I was just stoned.
But I just remember now, look, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I consider myself to have a very good ear for talent.
You're a tastemaker.
A tastemaker.
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the Action Bronson conversation because I knew him. I used to hang out. I knew him before he blew up.
Really?
I wanted to sign him. I had nobody. Dude, I found him before anybody did. Trust.
I knew
ASAP Rocky before he blew up. I heard some of his. I heard Deep Purple. I mean, Everything is Purple before anybody did.
Sick.
Before he even released it. Anyway.
Dude, you and Yams would have really gotten along.
We would have. I never. So ASAP Rocky, when I worked at Packers, ASAP Rocky used to come through with all those cats.
Yes.
All the time. Ferg and all them. And dude, they the way they dress with fashion, that's not a fad. They were always like that.
Right.
They used to come in with leopard pants. Oh, they were always on that fashion forward shit.
Yeah.
So that's no fraud. That's no fraudulent shit. Anyway, I consider myself to have a good ear for talent. I can give you more stories. There's no need. But I remember hearing you freestyle off the top. Not only was it so good off the top, because when somebody spits off the top, usually you hear a certain amount, an X amount of flaws because it's off the top.
And you can usually tell when they're like going in the bag of things that aren't off the top, but they're acting like it. Like you clear up.
But
like, you had that.
You're off the top, and there was a McDonald's around the corner. So you said this McDonald's line, something about, I don't remember the McDonald's line itself, but it had something to do with their tagline, something catchy with something with the smile. I forget what it is.
It's probably like ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You said something, and after you said that line, it blew my mind, and I was like, this kid needs to rap. And from that day forward, you could probably agree with me, I annoyed you all the time to record music. Now, I had zero experience recording music.
You had Acid Pro, probably what, 3?
You remember?
4, of course.
Sony Acid Pro, and I had a fucking...
It was like a SOCOM mic or whatever.
It was
Whatever
like
the
an
popular
MF Doom Operation Doomsday mic.
Whatever the cool like computer fucking war game was at the time. It was like a $40 like mic you get at Staples with like one headphone and a little wraparound. Like
I will never forget that. And I annoyed you.
But I will never forget is I showed up with Graham and he
wasn't there yet.
Was it like once or twice?
No. If you remember, I had a collection of pot. I didn't smoke at the time, but for some reason I had a collection.
Bro.
I had these vacuum seal jars.
I remember?
Yes. I had all different strains: Bubble Bog, Black Domino, all these bizarre strains.
This is when also, but dude, like let me just say, this is 2004. No, earlier, bro. Like,
was it?
Oh yeah, 2003, 2, like before like strain culture, weed culture was like.
I had it all. I knew growers.
If you were like from a city, maybe you knew about bubble gum. You know what I mean? If you listen to hip hop, you might have known about it. But it was like kids in high school were not. They didn't have head stashes,
and I had it. I didn't even smoke
like that. Like maybe there were nerds like you in every town, maybe, but like it wasn't. It was a very rare find.
But I didn't even smoke, which is the weird thing. I had a collection of pot, and I didn't smoke at the time. So I remember, I know you smoked, and I wanted to make you comfortable. As tonight, I went out and bought a bottle of Hibiki so that you could relax.
You can hear me drinking it.
You know what I'm saying?
You hear my lips smacking.
Smacking. So I remember grabbing you. We went to the Verona Park, which is right across the street from my house. And you rolled up, I believe, I don't know, I think you might have smoked a joint because I had a zigzag roller. I might have rolled you a freshie. I don't remember. I had a zigzag. I didn't even smoke, by the way, everybody, ladies and gents. But I remember we smoked and we came in the house. We started recording before this Graham situation, and which is another fascinating thing. But you started recording. You said I actually still have those sessions somewhere in my barn. On a CD somewhere. Nobody will ever hear them. I'm sorry, guys, but they're original freestyle sessions. You were zooted. And then Graham started texting us. And then Graham decided to come over. Now, Graham has never expressed to us, shout out to G. Wallace. Graham has never expressed to us at that point that he rapped. At least not to me.
I knew.
Oh, you knew. I didn't.
Yeah, by that point, like, I forget how. Like, I skated with Graham. We hit it off. And like he hit me on AIM the next day.
He was from Milburn, right?
He was from Madison.
Madison, that's it.
Like I met him my freshman year of high school. He had met my friend Patrick, shout out Pat, and Jules at Woodward.
Yeah.
They all went to Woodward, and like my folks were like, they saw the ticket. They're like, nah, you're not going to Woodward, bro.
Yeah.
Like, sorry,
yeah,
dude.
Woodward was that boss shit.
They were just like, nah, fucking with it. And but they met Graham at Woodward, and that, over the summer and that fall, they're like, oh, we're gonna go skate in Madison. They got some spots, yada yada. Like someone's mom dropped us off in fucking Madison. We met Graham, hit it off. I met Mark Ennis that day and a couple other cats.
Ennis.
Yeah, dude's chilling, man.
Wow.
Tell you about Ennis, but we met and.
So he showed you that he rapped?
Was funny. Nah, we were just like making each other laugh. We're both 13 years old, just like skating, cracking up, and started talking on AIM. Like the next night, he like IM'd me, And the joke was Chode Skateboards, actually. We were going to start a company called Chode Skateboards. Was like our joke from the day before. And
sewer cap girth.
Yo, I think it was sideways can of Coke. And like at some point in our like bullshitting on AIM, like on weeknights after school, we realized we both rapped. Like we both had like a proclivity for freestyling. Like we could both like.
So I didn't know.
Okay.
Prior to that.
No, I knew he like could like write a rhyme for whatever that meant as a
Interesting.
like, child.
So he came over that day after you already blitzed. And then we were recording a song. I believe he's the one that picked that beat. That was a Noriega beat, wasn't it? Because that was when you recorded Drugs Make You Popular.
It was a Styles P beat.
That's what it was. So,
Come Through.
So if anybody out there knows...
we come through.
Yeah, that
Great
sample
beat.
was
Still,
hard.
It's still a good beat. And what's funny is like, yo, that was pre-Kanye. And Kanye swears to God he was doing the sped up soul sample
Before
vocal
anybody
thing.
else.
That beat was...
That is kind of proof.
I've never thought about that actually, but that beat was like basically
kind of proof, yeah.
sped up, you know. Whatever.
So that was essentially the birth of Coitus Rifles, which is a play on the word Sex Pistols, which is phenomenal. I always loved that name, Coitus Rifles.
That was my idea.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No diss. Sea Rifles. But dude, the point of this story, I know it's taking us so long, so we're just like geeking out on like our fucking
This is what I want to do.
Yeah. If anyone cares to listen, fucking
I do this for me, not for you.
hang tight. Yeah. Like by now you're probably like, what the fuck?
No, but that was the birth of you recorded Drugs Make You Popular, the first demo, which I still have.
It was Graham's idea to use that beat, and we both wrote to it and like figured it out on AIM. So I think we were like both basically aware of each other's verses. Graham is one of those people that is so annoyingly good the first time they try to do anything.
Talented.
He rips at skateboarding, dude. He rips at rapping. He's fucking hilarious. He's a good actor, writer. Graham has a je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
No matter
Absolutely.
what, dude. If you were like,
it's crazy,
if you were
man.
like, hey, motherfucker, this is what I want you to get good at. I'll talk to you 45 minutes from now. In 46 minutes, he will have like an unbelievable amount of fucking skill at whatever the said task was. Like he is just
Absolutely.
that dude. It's fucked up.
He just has
Smart
a natural
guy.
knack for all that stuff.
His grandfather was like a brilliant inventor. And I think it's in the genes.
It rubbed off on him.
I believe so.
I'll never forget that feeling that day, though, when he came and recorded that, and you had that song, Drugs Make You Popular, and I was like, whoa. So that was really the first real recordings. After that...
I was like, oh my God, I suck. I was like, my friend is like so good at this, and like, I'm a fucking failure.
But you guys motivated each other, though, moving forward.
I suppose, but I was like, maybe hip-hop isn't for me.
I remember in 2006, I think you guys recorded that Clearer, because obviously my setup was just good for a quick demo. But I remember you actually re-recorded it. I have that track
A
somewhere
little
too.
clear, dude. Like in like my college dorm room or something.
Yeah, but it was
like,
mixed
wasn't-
better. And
Maybe, yeah.
I have it. I have both versions. I have everything.
I have zero versions.
I'll give it to you if you want it.
I would listen to it.
I have it. I have a
would love
GDP
to.
folder on my computer, and
Whoa.
I have hard drives that I've transferred it to. So I have like
Dude,
4 hard drives.
You
with all your
definitely
shit.
have more of my music than me.
Probably
No, like
not physical.
definitely.
I'm missing the Tunnel Bundles because Tunnel Buddies cassette.
I'll get you one. I'll make sure you get one. They're going for a bit on Discogs, funny enough.
Really?
That's another story.
So what came shortly after that was literally your first real solo project, which I know you do not want me to bring up, but I have it in its entirety. It's called This Is the Beginning EP.
Wow. Yeah, no, you can talk about it, but shout out you for even knowing that. You might be the only person in the world,
Really?
literally, that I don't think, dude, people that I know that I probably handed that to, that I was probably spending more time with at the time. I was in freshman year in college when I made that CD. And that's the recording session I'm talking about. Homies from the post office gals were like picking me up at the studio in like Bumblefuck, New Jersey. And they were like, what are you doing? And then I played the CD. They're like, what? Like,
I was listening to it last week.
you're the only person that knows that is my first EP.
Dude,
So
me
dude,
and my friend
shout out
CJ
to you.
it. You know CJ. Do you remember CJ? He was at my house for
probably.
Grid Fest with the beard. He had his 2 daughters with him.
This last time?
Yeah, he was with his 2 daughters. He left a little early, though. You might have came right when he left. Anyway, he's a
Might
big
have
fan
came-
of yours.
I might have came in his beard.
He's a big fan of yours. Anybody that
shout
I
out
fuck with,
CJ.
I always gave CJ the music. No Ice, Just Drugs was his favorite joint.
Bro, we're here. I'm here. I know what I signed up for. Let's go.
That's the standalone track on that record that always resonates with me and CJ. Me
That's
and
a
CJ
big
used
song.
to bump that.
The beat on that first song, the production was incredible. Shout out Jay Stampy.
I'm going to talk about him.
He was 2 years younger than me, bro.
So
Like,
you dropped that, and that was entirely produced
and
by
I
Jay
met him
Stampy.
through skateboarding too. Like that was like not some hip hop shit. That was like he was like the child prodigy at Hackettstown Skate Park. From West Orange.
I was gonna ask you that.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. Sorry,
I know Jay Stamps, since he entirely produced your first EP ever. That's most people never even heard. This is the beginning.
No one heard that shit. No,
dude. I was there from the beginning. That stuff's important.
That's so sick.
That stuff's important to me,
bro. Respect.
Yeah. So I know Jules. So there's a cat named Jules Sampson, aka Jay Stampy, and he produced probably the first 5 years of Matt's first recordings. He plays a big role in the birth of your career, Matt. A big role. He ended up producing.
Wouldn't have been one without him, bro.
I know. I mean, what I wanted to really know is how you guys met, and you already kind of touched on it a little bit. You met him at the Hackettstown skate park. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he was like this shy little kid that was like shredding harder than like the older heads.
Where was he from?
West Orange.
Oh, so he was from Woke.
He was like walking distance from where I grew up, but like a different.
See, how interesting is that?
Yeah, he's from West Orange, and like literally like probably half a mile away from my parents' house. That's where he's from.
Really?
Yes, and the man from somewhere else is half a mile away from my parents' house.
Wow.
Pistol was maybe 3/4 of a mile from my parents' house. Shape was about the same. Shape went to the same elementary school as me. Like
history in Welltown, bro.
Dude,
Wet Orange.
It is a very interesting place to grow up.
Yeah, it is.
Nowhere worth going. Like, don't go there now. It sucks. Like, there's nothing to do. But if you go to the fucking public school system, you're gonna see some shit that you might not see in other districts.
So you met Jay Stampy, like I said, who plays
through skateboarding,
very important role. How did you know he made beats though? How did that happen? Did he just bring it up to you? Because he used Reason primarily, correct?
Yes.
Before most people I knew used Reason.
Yeah, it was a more difficult program.
It was difficult for me. You flip it around and the patch bay on it made me confused.
Same. It's why I didn't learn it. And it was much more intuitive than like Fruity Loops, which was kind of the standard at the time. And yeah, he figured it out, dude. He had some shitty computer in his parents' basement. His parents were artists and like figured it out. How did I know he made beats? He was like the first person Division East ever sponsored.
Oh,
like,
skating-wise.
One of the first, skating-wise. He was a shredder.
He was sick.
I don't even remember how it came up that he made beats. Like,
I would assume it would be he heard you rapping.
Yeah. I think he was just a smart kid and like was fucking, they had like his parents had like a drum set and like guitars in the basement, like at a computer, and he downloaded a probably a legal copy of Reason and like was just smart. He was a very bright kid. And like,
he was.
Yeah, somewhere along the way, he probably just like popped his CD of beats and was like, yo, I make these. And I was like, holy shit, like what? Like this is you? Let's go. I'm like, can you like make more?
Yo, it was
do you want to do this? Like, yeah, like that's like really, I was just like, we bonded that way. He's like, yo, you rap fucking sick. And I'm like, yo, you are like incredibly prolific.
Incredibly prolific.
He's probably has like a lower genius level IQ.
Oh, absolutely.
He used to have write-ups in the town paper about his IQ. Like he would be getting like
really,
yeah, like record-breaking test scores and shit. And I'd be like, oh, your friend Jules was in the Chronicle. Like he got some insane.
Wow.
Yeah, like he was like
Jay
he was
Stampy,
gifted,
bro.
He was gifted, and his parents did their best to try to encourage all of his interests. They really did. Like I really do respect his folks. Shit happens how it happens, but like they knew they had a special boy on their hands, and they really tried to like let him, spread his wings and like do what he did. And
well, you two clearly had chemistry, bro. Like even from project to project, it got fucking better and better. And he leveled up, and you leveled up with him. Like literally, you two are the primo and guru of West Orange. It just no, dude. I'm not even laughing.
I mean, dude, it's fair. It's just an insane, like, yes.
No, because the chemistry was there. Just, like that beginning era of you. I know it cringes you, but it's so special because of that.
It's all good.
This is electricity.
Good, man.
You know what I'm saying?
It was really important to me at the time, and I have to respect it.
Dude, it was beyond special. But before I get into the next project, the next pivotal moment in your career, which I brought up to you, the title track, and you were annoyed with me. I could tell when I texted you at
What's
work.
that?
before I get into the involvement, before I get into that, I want you to talk about a special place in West Orange, which I am lucky enough to not only experience. I took my son there because my son, oddly enough, his pediatrician is around the corner.
Oh, I know exactly where they're at. I know the office because I think that's where my pediatrician was.
Really?
It's at Northfield and right by the gas station, right?
Kind of, yeah. It's like it's like that brown building. It's like 88 something or whatever.
88, maybe Northfield.
Is it 88? Yeah, it's on Northfield.
I know
it's
exactly.
Right off
Where I used to go to my pediatrician by the firehouse. There's a closed gas station right there.
Yeah. That's crazy. So my son goes there. So one day we had time, and after, which is why I made that Instagram post for you. Remember that Instagram post? Did a video and everything.
Yeah.
I take my son there and I said, "Wow, look where I am right now." And I told my son, he didn't know what I was saying, but I'm like, "We're at Stag Park. This place is so important to me." I'll tell you all my experience with Stag Park. I only had one real memorable one, but I want to know your experience with that place. Please, what is the impact that place had on you and your career and everybody surrounding you? Because anybody that's from West Orange, even all your rapper friends, that place was a birth of something to them.
For sure. Yeah.
That's a real special place.
Like older heads, like when I started hanging out with like Shape and the Men from Somewhere Else and all those dudes, like they lived nearby anyway. So like turned out they were there also. It was just like, dude, it's a park in a little neighborhood off a kind of main road that is cutty enough that you can just hang out there. Like you could smoke weed there, you could drink there, you could have a bunch of people there and no one would know. And like it was walking distance from my parents' house and it was walking distance from a lot of people's parents' house. But like in general, like as a place to go, even if you weren't from nearby, it was easy to park kind of anonymously.
Yeah.
Like you could get as far away as you needed to go. Like no one could fuck with you there.
Yeah.
It was like two large rolling fields kind of into another. So it was just like cutty. So you could go there and just like do your thing. And I lived right up the street from it. So that's like, I couldn't smoke weed at my parents' house. I couldn't drink there. I couldn't make noise there. So like, meet me here.
That place is special.
Yeah, dude, I had a lot of nights there, man. And like going there now as an adult, it's fucked up. Yeah, it just brings me back of like, dude, I've like friends that like lost their virginity there.
Yeah.
Type shit. Like it was just like it was our Cheers.
Yeah.
Like it was our underage motherfucker Cheers, I guess.
Every town has a park like that that they could, and mine was Brookdale Avenue School in my town.
I remember Brookdale, of course.
You remember Brookdale?
The 5-star, of course.
Yeah. So all that stuff. But I want to share with the listeners my memory from Stag Park. That was very special to me.
Stag Field.
So Stag Field, sorry. So now I'm going a little far ahead in the timeline, but it's okay. We're going to bounce back, but I have to share this. This is a little further down GDP's career, kind of. I remember going there. First, we started at your house, and the one thing that I always loved about you is your tolerance for any sort of substance. It was unlike anybody's tolerance that I've ever experienced or witnessed. You have that's why I asked you earlier if your parents had any experience with any sort of drug use, because the grip that you have on yourself and substances is remarkable.
My dad is like a known incredible drinker. My mom said she's like, I've seen your father drunk like twice in my life. So like there is a high tolerance like in my bloodstream.
It's not even
but they weren't getting fucked up. They weren't taking Molly. You know what I mean? But like my dad could like drink a bottle of whiskey and like park his car, you know?
But your tolerance is not only special, it's also just your ability to stop whenever you want. Also,
yeah,
it's your willpower. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's dangerous because like other people around me were like, "Oh, like you can."
If they're trying to keep up,
you can just stop whenever you want. Like you could just have a wild weekend and like Monday be good, and like other people couldn't. And it set a dangerous precedent maybe for some people.
I know. I remember the first time we started at your crib. At the time, I used to smoke a little bit. I don't smoke anymore because of my job, but I smoked a little bit back then. You and I twisted up a giggle stick. We lit up, but you just threw a couple tabs of acid in your fucking mouth. Like, I never met anybody that really did acid then. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on right here? And you were just completely just threw them in your mouth after we just got litty kitty. Then we go over to Stag Park, and you had a boombox with you.
Yeah. I know my grandparents bought me that boombox, bro.
You threw on. So first of all, there's a song in particular that I heard, and I wasn't a fan of this person at the time. It's not that I wasn't a fan; I didn't understand him yet. So there was a song that you recorded with Frank. Shout out to Francis Ard, which is the man from somewhere else.
I'm so proud of him, bro.
TMFSC.
He's doing well, man. He's doing real well.
I just texted him earlier today.
He is actually my North Star. He's my OG, bro. He is the one.
When it comes to hip hop, he's avant-garde in every sense of the word.
Dude, all the shit that's going on right now, all that shit, like, dude, he's the one.
So I heard a song. There was Earth to Elsewhere, which is a song with you shaping him. That was, I believe, the first song that I heard his voice on. And if you hear this kid at first and you're just used to normal upbeat hip hop that every hit is on the snare and all that stuff, like, very conventional hip hop. Yeah. You hear him, you're going to be kind of thrown aback because it's kind of unconventional, it's unorthodox, and sometimes he goes a little off beat and stuff. So I was kind of like confused at first. Like, I don't know if I like this guy, but his verse was kind of crazy.
He said some things that you're like, whoa.
He said some shit, but I'm like, I don't know about this guy. So you're like, you know what? After we smoked, we got real lit. It was kind of dark. The sun was coming down. It was a special mood. And you threw on You Don't Look Like Santa Part 2. It's not the first one, the second one.
That record is the one.
You threw it on the boombox. Yes. It's the most lo-fi shit you'll ever hear.
But now the kids are all doing lo-fi. It wasn't a stylistic choice. It was like actually just how he made the record. Is what he had available.
If anybody needs that, holler at me.
It's after on Bandcamp. Yeah, it's on Bandcamp.
Oh, it's on Bandcamp.
Yes, it's available.
If you need me to give it to you personally, I'd rather
that
just listen to it with you.
Fucking believable.
You played it for me, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I just didn't know. It changed my life forever.
Yes,
that moment.
Same.
No bullshit.
Dude, that record changed my life, dude. Hearing Frank's music changed my life. I was like, I can't believe someone could rap like this.
You showed me that, and I was blown away. Yes. And from that moment, not only was I a fan of Frank, but that whole moment, because I was just stony baloney. And I heard all this shit. We were steaming broccoli, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Not to mention, we go back to your house. We go in your office upstairs, which is a legendary office with the wood paneling.
Office. Yeah, and the fucking weird shag carpet.
You request for the lights to be off, like kind of we were in right now, and then you pop more acid. What the fuck? We sat in the dark and just had conversations.
Yeah, just chilled.
But I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget that first time I heard Frank, and I'll never forget Stag Park because of that.
That's so fire. Yeah, no, real ones understand. I've tried so many times. It's like, this is a special artist that if you can give the time to wrap your head around, you'll be so glad. And I've had friends that have been like, oh my God, this is like the future of art. And other people that are like, can you please put something
You can't describe it. But like when I notice when I show people the first time, they don't get it.
No.
You have to beat it into them slowly. And then when they finally get it, they're just like, whoa.
No, it's like, it's nerd shit. Like, he is a rapper's rapper. Like if you're not a lyric snob, like you might not appreciate what's going on.
But the shit he says is just like,
it's like no one ever. Let me tell you something. Ready? When I got like the little, I don't think a person texted me. I think Apple fucking told me MF Doom died. I got the update like rapper MF Doom. And it was like New Year's Eve, and I was
you thought of him right away.
I just looked at my phone and I was bummed because I was like, now he'll never hear Frank. That's where my head went. The fact that those dudes never met. That Doom never heard Frank's music.
I'm going to fucking cry now.
That's what broke my heart. I was like, I'm so sad Doom's dead, whatever. Like, I don't know this guy. The fact that Doom now will never know about the man from somewhere else, it is a disservice to humanity.
Imagine if he heard Frank, bro. He would have thrown him on a record.
He would have freaked out.
He would have produced a whole record for him.
Yes. Whatever it is.
Make my boombox drop new school. Busta Huey. What?
Yeah.
C- Linus, he bust nuts on Lucy. Bro.
Dude, he's the one.
I love you, Frank.
He's
hope he
doing
hears
so
this.
well, dude. He'll hear it. That he's chilling.
I texted him today and I told him I want him on a pod. And he said we'll schedule and he'll take a train.
I will pick him up at the train, but I'll come here.
We should do a tripod.
I'll just drink beers while he talks. Yeah, I would love to be here for that, dude. Frank is the most important rapper of all time. I'm going to listen to his music on the drive home.
So now we have to get into the involvement.
Real quick, though.
Yeah.
Cool Keith said, she want to see the way I PISS. You know what I'm talking about?
Bro, Cool Keith is a whole nother animal.
He's the best. I played a show with him, bro. I played a show with him in Jersey. It wasn't a good set, but he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a wild boy.
He's a wild boy, dude.
He's a fucking wild boy. Ultramagnetic, bro.
One of the most influential and like not recognized rap groups of all time. Like literally, they're so important and like so not mentioned.
No, you're right.
They really took lyricism from the 80s to the 90s.
Absolutely.
It wasn't Rakim, bro. It was Ultramagnetic.
That's a bold statement.
Sorry. I'd rather listen to Cool Keith than Rakim. Yeah, he's great. No, I'm not mad at him, but like, dude, Cool Keith.
You would rather listen to Cool Keith than Rakim?
Yes.
Actually, I could expect that answer from you.
100%. It's so much more interesting.
I can expect that answer
in 2023, like, yeah.
He's a wild boy. Anyway, Involvement was a powerful debut. That was your first real project. According to the internet.
Do you think it was powerful?
I think so. According to the internet, it was your EP. It was an EP.
It was an EP. Yeah, it was 7 songs.
I have 2 copies. Who did the artwork?
Jay Stamps.
He did do the artwork.
That was his artwork, man.
That's right. He painted that.
Yeah. It was already a painting, and I was just like, dude, I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but like this makes sense. And Yon the Don somehow ended up with the actual artwork. Dude, that was like a fucking like 8 foot by 8 foot like wood painting. That shit was beautiful.
It was wood.
And then Yon hung it upside down. I'm like, dude, this isn't even how the fuck it's supposed to look. But
Yon cares about pussy. He don't care about the artwork.
He's, you know.
I guess you could call the Involvement like the junior high school era of your career. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, that was JV.
That was JV.
That was my JV. But it was a record. And like by that point, I had like fans, a couple fans. There were people that I didn't know that were interested in what I was doing.
Dude, 35 and 6. When you pop that album,
it's a big beat. It's a big beat.
It's Shape. It's a big.
And dude, Shape. All right, so I'll tell you how that story about that song rather. Shape and I were hanging out. I met him through Carson, and he was like so fucking good. He was a little bit older than me, and like his music was like
Carson.
Yes, C minus Carson, dude. He was the nucleus, and you know I was 18. Shape was like 23, and he was like dope. Had his own apartment, had a bunch of gear. Was like making music at a level that I was like, I don't know how to rap like this. You know what I mean? Like I'm like still like a chicken, and this guy is a fucking vulture, and. We were drunk one night. Like he knew I was working on the record. And like the reason I think honestly a lot of those dudes fuck with me is like they saw I had like a little bit of like a network. He played me that beat one night and it was just like told me I could have it, dude. He already had a whole song to that beat, and like but stuck to his word that he made drunkenly. That he was like, all right, you can have this beat. And I was like, dude, I could really have that beat, like. Are you sure? And
it's a good beat. It's a good beat.
Yeah, he's like, I told you could have it. Like, reluctant, but like, yeah, I do your thing. I was like, I gotta lace it. And I've honestly been thinking about like starting another record with that and just like ripping it different.
Keep my mind and my options open. GDP is my opinion like an instrument. You gotta admit, from This Is the Beginning EP to the Involvement, that was a major upgrade. Sonically as well as just lyrically.
Not dissing anyone I was working with at the time, but like I was pretty much Shape was supposed to make Involvement, and he was a little too like caught up in whatever he was going on at the time, and like Carson stepped in and was like, yo, like you can make your record with me. Like our mutual friend that I introduced you to is like not exactly like
that record
seeing
was so
it through.
Good,
dude, I made that in Carson's parents' basement in West Orange, summer 20 shit.
It was 2006.
No, it was 2006. Yeah, it was so long
2006, but it was such a good record. Each project you guys did together elevated to a new height every time, and you gotta respect that. Most people go backwards. You gotta respect that, how good you guys.
We were kids. We were just like dropping before we were ready, but his production kept improving,
and your lyrics, and your drive, and your energy, and your flow. Everything was elevated. It wasn't just his beats. It was you guys together in unison. You gotta remember that. You guys just leveled up.
I think it was him more than me, honestly.
I think it was both. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to disagree.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was both.
I'll take it. Yeah, it makes me sound cooler. But really, I think it was like me grabbing straws to try to keep up with like my like little genius younger friend.
I love collecting. You know that of me. I have collections. You're sitting around one of my collections. One of them.
We're in a room full of fucking
arcade
machines.
But bro, like, you know, when you give me a physical CD or physical tape, I cherish it. I have 2 copies of Involvement.
I don't have one. I don't have a copy of that record.
I have 2 copies. I can give you a digital. I won't give up the physical.
Okay. Nah, it's okay, bro.
One of them is real scratched, like from me playing, and one of them I believe is still sealed. I have to go.
Wow,
I have to go find it. Yeah,
that's sick.
If you remember early in your career, I would buy 2 of everything. If you remember,
yeah, dude, you're a 2 of everything ass motherfucker.
Yeah, I have to, especially when it's my people's. I have to preserve. You know how many people hit me up? Yo, I don't have my early EP. My cousin Rocco needed his early Frequency stuff. My boy Randy didn't have his first Murray Retro album, Sci-Fi Suede shit. I had it all. I got it all, and I deliver. I'm an archive, bro. It's important to me.
Yeah, and it is important. The things people prioritize, not as important as art.
Nah,
like
man.
You understand what matters and what doesn't.
Yes. That brings me to the title track, Location. I know you're not a fan of that track.
Nah, that's whatever.
I love the beat, to be honest.
It's a stampy beat. It's a great beat. So in my first music video, shout out Pat Wren for making that video. TMFSC loved that song.
That's another thing. So TMFSC is on the track. He's not a musical feature. He's more of like a big body best to Action Bronson.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, he was just a hype
Whose
man.
decision was that, and what made you decide to use him on that?
I knew Frank well before rap music through like just like neighborhood skateboarding bullshit. Like I was 11 or 12 years old, and this kid who was on my bus lived nearby. This like older dude who would like do pressure flips.
Wow.
It was Frank. So I was like 12 hanging out with an 18-year-old.
Shout out
but like
Frank,
he was just cool. Like he wasn't like weird. Like it wasn't like
he's one of a kind.
But you know, skateboarding, that's how it is. Like you're like legendary a fucking child hanging out with grown men, and like it's not weird to anyone. So like a little bit of that, and then years later, I started making hip hop. Yada yada. Carson I met through like whatever, like punk shit. I don't know. Showed me Shape. I booked Shape for a show in New Brunswick. He shows up with Frank. And I haven't seen Frank in, I don't know, 7 years, since I was a fucking child, like a preteen. And he's like, we both like look at each other. He's like, oh shit, like, what up, bro? And I'm a tall by then, right? I'm a tall motherfucker. And he's like, yo, he's like, you got so big? Like, whoa, bro, like, what up? Like, you're huge now. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know. I hadn't heard his music. I had heard Shape's music, and he just like bought Frank along, and they had a fallout like shortly thereafter. So like, I didn't even realize how dope Frank was for a minute. By default, it was like a bunch of random bullshit. And then like at some point, I heard it, and I was like, oh my God! I was like, that dude. That weird older motherfucker that used to do like played out tricks.
Avant-garde, bro.
Was like,
next level.
When it clicked, it clicked. I was like, this is a once in a generation artist right
People
here.
Don't get it, man. I'm talking
Wheat
Toast.
No,
like, that dude is a
people still don't get it. People still won't get it because like what he's doing is it's inaccessible to a certain like, but if you get it, you know it is.
But he was on that track as like a hype man, essentially. And it was fantastic.
Because he liked the track. And I was like, dude. So by then I'd known he was like a god body MC.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, do the outro, whatever. You like this song? Like, oh my God. Like, this guy likes my shit.
That's
like, yeah, do the outro, whatever.
His voice is so smooth. You bought the Involvement now.
Recorded in
somewhere else.
Yeah, they did like Carson's parents' basement.
Dude, that's a legend. That's why it's a legendary album. It's your first real step into the game. It's your first actual pressed up copy.
It was like semi-professionally made. Yeah, we printed like 1,000 copies.
There's so many quotables actually all over. I know earlier in the week when we were texting, you said like that song made you cringe a little bit. But dude, there's a lot of quotables on that fucking album, on that track.
Yeah. No, I was showing prowess.
Dude, there's a lot of quotables on that track. Primarily at the end, not that it's the best quotable, but it brings me into what admires me about you specifically. And at the end, You say a bunch of shit on that joint. The last two lines are like, then complain hip hop's dead, but where were you when it was on its deathbed then? There's many things that come before that are great, but you say that. The reason why that line is so important to me is because as long as I've known you, dude, I've known you for over 20 years now.
Which is dope.
Yeah, I've known you for
we've been homies
fucking,
a long time, man. It's fire.
I know I've known you for a very, very long time. It's weird
Yes.
to even think about that retrospectively.
Yeah, I don't feel that old, but I'm like, oh yeah, like that amount of time is like,
yeah, happened. I know, and we're here.
It's still in a cool shit. Still talking about how fucking cool Friday the 13th is.
I know, right? But you were always through, even still to this day, you were one of the main people that was always like the biggest supporter of not only music in general, but hip hop in all of its evolving stages. All of it.
I try not to be a hater.
Up to present day.
Yes.
Like you just, so that line truly to me embodies your whole ideology of the game and where it goes, went, and has been. So what is your opinion now in 2023 where hip hop's current state is at musically?
It's funny, like when that record was happening, I feel like mainstream hip hop was at like a kind of
standstill.
Yeah, it was like whack. Like we were still like post Chingy. Come like the mid 2010s, I think it got interesting again. I think it became a little more democratic. Like the Gucci Mane 1017 like thing happened where like you don't need a record deal. You don't need to have all the infrastructure. Like you can potentially just like make this work on your own and then like figure the rest out. And all these stars popped up, right? The Cardis, the Lil Uzi Verts of the time. And I thought they were, honestly, personally, I think they were doing some interesting shit. I think they were taking the story wherever they wanted to go with it. And now we're kind of, I think, siphoning back to this like kind of dead zone of like, we have these hit makers that are either like sometimes good or sometimes really lazy. And then there's no one really like coming up that like we're excited about. And I think there's potential for that, but I think the powers that be, the labels, the A&Rs, the distributors have figured out a way to still kind of like pump the brakes on like anything that isn't within their control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally.
Where it's like for a second, it, like they couldn't figure out how to do it, but like they figured it out again, and now it's like a recycle of like, all right, how do we give the power back to the kids?
Yeah.
It's never going to be the 20-something. It's always going to be the teenagers. And like the teenagers don't have that many good options right now.
Yeah, sad but true. Yeah.
Like they're like we're still talking about things that happened a few years ago. Our biggest artists are still have been around for 10 years. Yeah. And like that's fine. But like for a second, it was like all these interesting acts were sneaking through the cracks in like non-traditional ways, and like the powers that be couldn't control it. And I don't know. Yeah, like we're due for a restructuring again.
Yeah.
That's
kind of like what COVID did to society. We're due for a
We're, like new kids are still sneaking through the cracks, but it's like it feels a little more tamed by the powers that be. So it's like, all right, that's cool, but hip hop's gonna keep evolving. And what keeps me so interested in this particular genre, as opposed to every fucking other one, is it usurps every other influence. So it's so malleable in such a healthy way.
100%.
Like, hip hop's so interesting because it's just gonna be a reflection of whatever else is happening, and like be a voice to the voiceless. It felt like that for a second, like 2013 to 2018, 19. It felt like something of a voice to the voiceless again, or at least a voice to those that weren't following traditional routes to notoriety.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of in this like deadlock again. We're in this like standstill state.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where it goes because at times
something's gonna happen.
At times I feel like a grandpa, like like the typical like back in my day.
Right.
This shit is terrible. But I tried. You know what's weird? I use you as a mental reference a lot because you were always open to all the new stuff before me. You always were more sympathetic on it and just you were more open minded than I was. So whenever I think
shout
of
out
like
Tame One for that. He told me he was like
rest in peace, Tame Wizard.
He told me he's like hip hop's a young man's sport. He was right.
Wow, yeah, totally. And I think about that every time I hear something new and I hate it right away. I think of you. It's weird.
That's it.
I think of you in our conversations, and I go, you know what? I bet GDP fucks with this. Let me just give it a couple of more listens before I judge it.
Before you don't like it, yeah.
Before I don't
not what
like
I'm used to, but like that's good.
Let me put my mind in a different. Exactly.
Right. Because if it's what I'm used to, that's gonna be whack in its own way.
Exactly. There's some stuff. I mean, largely, I hate the new stuff. However, there's some stuff. There's some trash that I do like. There's some guys that I see the talent in, and I pick and choose.
Totally.
But I try to stay afloat. I try to stay afloat.
You have to, dude.
Especially with a seed. I got to listen to what he's listening to. I got to know what he's going to be into. You know what I'm saying?
He's TikTok and ass.
I got to be up on it.
For me, it's like no matter the genre, the general consensus is always going to bore me just because I'm a fucking...
I feel you.
I'm just a little diva. But I know there's always going to be shit coming out that's going to interest me in all of these genres as well. And then
it's more like, dumbed down now. It's heavily
dumbed down again.
Heavily dumbed down.
It got really lyrical for a second.
And then just...
It got really interesting.
But it dropped really bad.
And then those that were pushing that envelope dumbed themselves down.
But it's really dumbed down now.
Yeah, it's not in the best spot.
That's very bad.
It was in a really interesting spot, I thought, for a minute, and now I'm like, these kids who I was looking at, I was like,
it's really,
these records suck. Yeah,
really
your records aren't interesting.
Yeah, it's not good.
But you're still like chart toppers.
Yeah.
So like, what happens?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, after involvement, you drop a quick single, which I love because you mentioned me in it. Succumb drops. It's that
bro.
That split 7-inch with Dirty Money. I remember specifically when I obtained that, you performed a show in Clifton. I don't know where it was. It was not Dingbats. Was it a VFW?
No, it wasn't a VFW. It was at all right.
It was off a main strip.
Bob from what's that record store on Bloomfield Avenue? Bob from
where? In Montclair?
I bought a Locust CD there when I was
Montclair?
a child. Yes.
Crazy Rhythms?
It wasn't Crazy Rhythms. Let It Rock.
Yeah, Let It Rock. Well, the punk shit they had there.
That was
Let It Rock.
Growing up, that was
Let It Rock.
There weren't that many stores you can go to with that shit on deck after CD World closed. So Bob and his wife from Let It Rock opened up a venue in Clifton, and that's the show you're talking about.
I went there. You saved 2 copies for me. One of them was a regular black 7-inch. The other was the green with the blood splatter.
Wow.
I still have it.
Wow. I don't think I even have that one.
I have them both. I drove out there to get that.
Yeah, it was a Death Traders t-shirt release too.
That's right. I'm not a t-shirt guy, so I don't go hard for that stuff.
But it's funny. Like I knew Alex was like a special artist, and he designed a shirt for us that night. It was a king with like a long beard gouging his own eye out on
I remember that shirt.
Very thick yellow t-shirt.
I remember that shirt. Who did the artwork for that 7-inch?
Roy Hames.
It was a giant can, right? Wasn't he like an angry can?
It was pretty much the Succumb music video, like the chair from that record.
Well, that's another part, is that video was genius.
Well, what's funny is the dude whose idea it was, I've heard through the grapevine, is like credited with me.
Really?
For it. And like it's actually not true. It was his idea.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's like, oh, man.
It's a great video.
Matt saw through it all. Like,
you shout me out in it. That actually made people familiar. I would go to your shows and stuff like, oh, you're Al, because you would introduce me. Like, oh, you're Al Sauce.
Dude,
and that's how you birthed that name, bro.
Nah, I had to rep it. It was like, two particular people in my life, really.
Big up to Al Sauce, my man. Pots and pans. Lit a grape doinch. Put a roach out on a fan. Traded a copy of the involvement for a gram, which is a fact.
That did happen.
I traded you weed out of my head stash when I did not smoke, and you gave me 2 copies of the involvement. That's how I obtained that. That's a real.
I know.
Grape Deutsch was me and my cousin Rocco, who used to own the house we're sitting in right now. He invented the Deutsch. He used to say that.
Do you remember
Shout
when they
out
made grape Dutch? We couldn't believe it. We were like, there's a grape Dutch. Or like, this weed tastes like grape.
Yeah, I used to love the grape Dutch.
What?
You used to lit that shit and it would smell the whole room like grape.
Grape Dutch. It was like an incense.
Yo, but the Hotbox remix, which was on the next album, I believe.
It was.
You shouted me out a second time just a little differently. You said, big up to Al Sauce for putting me on. That video was so good.
You know, whatever. People liked it.
I love that video.
It's like so cringe for me at this point, but like
It's early. It's all right.
I'm glad people back it.
I always look at early stuff I did like, ooh, like I don't even want to hear my voice.
It is what it is. It's funny because like I took it off YouTube just because like one day I decided I didn't give a fuck, but like it's re-uploaded. Some kid fucking got it on there.
Yeah,
and I could probably like claim copyright. I just haven't because I'm like whatever. If people want to watch it, like it's
so good. You got to leave it up there.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So after that was your first major release, which was The Involvement. That was the first time you ever pressed anything up. Next comes your real first full-length LP, Realistic Expectations. That was the first, and like I said about before, how you and Stampy would level up each time you fucking level up. From Involvement to Realistic Expectations.
Yeah, it definitely was better.
It just was mind-blowing. Like, I was like, I can't believe what I'm listening to. You got, it's on iTunes. Involvement is not. Involvement used to be on Spotify and it was pulled
by me because I don't have control over realistic expectations. I did that one with a label. If it were up to me, that shit wouldn't be available either. But Involvement
that was on Run for Cover.
Nah, it was on Say 10 Records.
That's Say 10.
This cat Adam from Virginia.
But boy, did you guys level up with that motherfucker. Not only was his production so good, but you lyrically, you started coming out. You were hitting people with political references, and you were just...
I felt like I had something to say.
The maturity, everything. It's such a good... That's the thing is like usually when artists come out, they come out so raw, and then every project after that, they tend to taper off, right? But you just elevated each time, and I love and I appreciated that because it was something to look forward to. That shit gets my fucking sick. That makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck. I remember as I'm talking about it, I remember those times. I just remember going to the shows, watching fans sing your lyrics back to you.
That's when it started happening.
Me seeing that,
that was crazy. That was crazy. I started playing shows and like,
dude,
I forgot like when it exactly was, but at some point I was like, oh my God, like there's like people like are coming here that like know what they're here to see. Like they're not just my friends. They're not my friends of friends. Like there's kids coming here that like are just like
you were bubbling at that point.
What's also funny, it's like while that was happening, like, dude, I was booking all my own shit. It sucked. Like, again, inside the club, outside the club. Yeah, to be like, oh, he's leveling up. Like more people are listening to his music.
But it was hard
and I'm
work.
like, dude, like I don't know what to pursue and what not to. I have no help. I don't think anyone cares. Like every now and then I play a show that like it's like incredible and like what, but like it didn't feel like I was leveling up from like where I was at. Even though like I was playing good shows and like I didn't realize it, dude. I didn't realize it till like years later that was like impactful for people,
dude. I call that era, in my opinion, I coin it the Rutgers era. Because that's essentially when you went to Rutgers, you and Jay Stampy, who you were really bonding musically as well as just personally.
It's in life,
and it was just an important time period. And you guys were just creating this electricity, this chemistry, this magic. And that was the Rutgers era. And how locked in was Jay Stampy at that point with the beats? Because at that point, unfortunately, that was also another downfall that was the start of the downfall to Jay Stampy.
Yeah, no, it's fucked up. Yeah, no, he was locked in and he was making great shit. This also begins like the opioid epidemic in America,
which took me
around this time. I remember you were a bit caught up, and it's like you know, same for him. Who's like, I don't want to speak too much on his personal shit, but like, a friend of mine was beating cancer and had a bunch of painkillers for sale. That like
everybody has a story similar.
He would grab some, and like I wasn't thinking much of it, you know.
Yeah.
And like now I could look back and of course be like, oh my god, like yeah,
that's what started it for you or whatever.
Like I didn't even like morphine. I didn't really like know what the big deal was.
That's the Rutgers era.
Yeah, Rutgers era.
You guys had an apartment together.
Yeah. But he started getting fucked up. And then when he moved out, he was like, yeah, he's like, my therapist says I have like a drug problem. I was like, what? Like, nah, bro. Like, what do you mean?
Because you didn't realize it.
I didn't see it. Yeah. Because again, it goes back to what you said earlier. I have like a pretty good tolerance and I'm pretty
You're different. People can't keep up with you.
I know.
And it makes them spiral.
Fucked up. Yeah, no, it's fucked up to be around someone that like didn't have that sort of self-control.
Yeah.
And I was taking my own self-control for granted. And it's a problem in relationships to this day that I can't be projecting how I handle things on how other people should or do handle things.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm 20. My very talented homie is like, it's shit's going on. And like, I don't like, I'm like not aware of it, quite frankly. Like I just.
You know what was weird about that record? That came out in 2009. That was the same year my mom passed away.
Damn.
And even though that happened, I was still able to digest that record. Gonzo Journalism is fire.
It's a good beat.
I love the beat. I love the storytelling on it. It's just a drug-fueled journey.
That was me being 20, just hanging out with some sketchy people going to New York.
The beat is fantastic. Bro. That's Stamping, no?
Oh, yes.
He produced almost the whole record? Almost.
Like 90% of it, I would say.
Yeah, there's maybe one or two records that are somebody else, right?
One beat. No, that was like all Stampy. But that beat, dude, I was thinking of the Artifacts interview. Yo, we ended this interview. Like, that's why I made that song.
No shit. I never knew that.
Think about it. I mean, I've never said it.
There's a sample in it. And when I heard that record, I would have never recognized the sample because I never saw the movie.
It was an American movie.
American movie, Mike. Yes. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Was that your idea to put that sample in there?
It was.
To those who don't know what that movie is, it's called American Movie.
So sick.
It's not a movie, it's a documentary. You know, I have a copy of Coven signed by what's his name with the glasses? I have a VHS copy of that movie that the documentary's about. I gotta show it to you.
Dude, there's never anything I've believed more.
I love that movie. You know who showed me that movie? Custodian of Records.
Yes.
He showed me that movie.
That totally checks out.
I love that movie.
It's nerd shit.
Documentary, really.
Those dudes rule. But that was my idea to put those samples in there.
I knew it was your idea. I just had to ask.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. I thought it was cool.
So there's another record on that album that I love. Mach 10. The reason why I like it is because I can call it, quote unquote, a gang record when you got multiple features on it.
Yeah, no, that was a posse cut.
You got... Who's on that? You got
Daniel
SB,
Joseph, TMFSC.
Daniel Joseph, a.k.a. SB.
Yes.
And you got Rumac on there. Now, you know me. I was always a big fan of Rumac. I don't know if it was
I remember I was talking to you like, you were like, do what it does.
Yo, I
thought Rumac head.
I thought Rumac was always the smoothest,
dude, I thought he was good
dude ever.
So I met that kid.
How'd you meet him? And SB.
Jersey
I love
shit.
SB.
How I met SB was through Division East. That was through Dave. Like Daniel Joseph and them, like they were like, you know, it was they were brought to me as like dope MCs that were already like proving their own, and then we made friendly because they were just like really nice guys, and then like actually talented cats. Rumac, I would just like run into. We would just like smoke weed some places, and I would like see him perform. Like at those times, I was like,
he was so laid back.
Kid's good. We hit it off on like on an interpersonal level. He had responsibilities that me and my friends couldn't relate to at the time.
I feel that.
You know, he had kids young, and like it was just like.
I always loved his music.
Dope MC.
I gotta highlight him. I'll find him. There's another record though. Probably my favorite record. I always love the records when you storytell, obviously, and when it's something personal, it's an actual experience. All your records are experiences, right? But certain records are like direct experiences, not inspirations from experiences, but particular experiences. And Coke Bar is a fucking phenomenal record. Not only is that beat, Jay Stampy did not do that beat, right? That's one of the beats that he did not do.
That was Man from Somewhere Else beat. Waffle. That was Junk Waffle.
Junk Waffle did that?
Yes.
That beat, bro. Sometimes
it's a great beat, but hold up.
He does beats.
I want to blow your mind right now, bro. The main dude who that song was about was a
JJ, right? The guy that owned JJ's?
I don't know who owned that. I do know who owned that bar, but the owner was it was just some fucking weird, sketchy guy. But it was really about my homie James Lefty Chestnut, aka
They got stabbed
Lefty.
in the head, right?
Different person. He was part of it. Long story short,
James Lefty.
He's on the
with him
HBO.
on
He's on the
Facebook.
HBO documentary right now about this like weird fucking telemarketing scheme. They had telemarketers.
on.
He's interviewed on telemarketers. I'm getting so many texts from people. He's like,
What?
"Yo, what was Lefty's real name, dude?" He
I'm friends with him on Facebook for some reason.
That's my guy.
I always saw him like, who is James Lefty Chestnut?
My man. He's on Telemarketers, which is a new HBO documentary that he's interviewed on.
No way.
Yes, I swear.
So
to God.
that record, Coke Bar, is about him.
It's about hanging out with him, basically.
At JJ's, though.
Which was like four buildings away
It's
from
a
my
bar
apartment
that used
at
to
the
do
time.
open mics at.
It was so close to my
And y'all
apartment.
used to blow mad snow
He
in
was a
that
coke
spot.
dealer. Like,
So it's about Lefty. No
and
way.
he's in the HBO doc right now. It's so funny.
Bro,
People
that
are-
record the beat is fucking
great beat.
incredible.
But that's a Junk Waffle beat.
Shout out to Frank. Yo.
Yes.
I know that's public knowledge now, so I don't care.
Yeah, no,
to talk
it's fine,
about it.
dude. That's a whole other thing.
You know, when I found out about that, I was like, I was upset and happy at the
I
same
was
time.
so mad that he was doing that because, like,
It was brilliant, though.
it was, but then it was like, oh, he died, and then I'm getting texts like, yo, I'm so sorry for your loss.
That was
bro.
drug fueled.
Yeah, of course. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
To those who are listening that don't understand what I mean, remember I've been talking about all night. We've been talking about this incredible rapper, this avant-garde rapper named Frank, but his hip hop name is alias, if you will, is TMFSC, which stands for The Man from Somewhere Else. So the people that produced, or the person that produced all of his records, was the name of Junk Waffle. Years later, it came out that Junk Waffle is actually Frank. It was just an alias.
He was in
that
a
took
group called
under.
Emily Rugburn, which was him and Junk Waffle, but it was just him. And then the person that was supposed to be the producer would wear a paper bag.
A paper bag, which was usually, what's his name from Zagnuts? Right?
What is Zagnuts?
Oh, that's his name,
Like,
right?
whoever, yeah, Zagnuts.
What was the
from
name of their
Gold
group?
Label.
That's it, Gold. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm a little drunk right now.
It's okay, but yeah, no,
That's what it was. But kind of closing out that album, you had another record that was very important in that album called Orange Water, which is a tribute essentially to West Orange.
Yeah, it was just like a joke. I was hanging out with like a bunch of people that were smoking PCP at the time. I like made friendly with a bunch of like OGs in our area. And it was like, yo, PCP was like the Molly or lean of hip hop of like the early to mid 90s. For better or for worse, like PCP is a very inexpensive and accessible drug in
Mind altering.
Yeah, it's mind altering
healthy
as
for you.
well. But Orange Water like actually popped off. And Tame One's in the video, all that shit. Tame One's at my
Pistol.
parents' house like drinking vodka and shit.
But that was the last piece of music done with Jay Stampy, right? That was after that was when he kind of spiraled and you know, how did that affect you, man? Because you got to remember, like, the first 5 years of your musical career was essentially built with Jay Stampy.
Yeah.
You guys built your sounds together, and then he just went. How did that affect you, bro? Emotionally as well as creatively?
We had a weird.
I never asked you that.
We had a weird fallout. Like, yeah,
It wasn't your fault.
I mean, no. I don't blame myself, but in retrospect, are there things I could have handled better? Like, of course.
You were a kid, man.
Yeah. No,
You know?
I didn't realize, you know, what it all meant for him, for just, yeah, like I just didn't realize how fragile things were.
Did that really put a damper on your creativity? Did it fuck you up?
No, Did it put a damper on my creativity? No.
Was it weird to like?
Did it make me
that,
feel fucked up about like someone I really cared about, like, and then trying to get their head together? Like, you know, like it didn't put a damper on my creativity. Did it put a damper on like my like spirit? You know what I mean? Like, yes. You know, it's like I was gonna keep having ideas. I was gonna keep pushing forward, but it's like, yeah, like then the whole scheme of things, like, dude, like so fucked up. You know, like of course, I was. It was situations. And seeing people you care about going through things you would have never wanted.
Yeah, I was just always curious about that because you know you moved on. Obviously, you moved on, and you made 2 crazy records.
I stumbled backwards into it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was like, all right, oh, now I need to. You know what I mean? Like it happened like so like random and naturally. Like it.
I was just always curious because you know you got, like I said, the first 5 years were just you and him. Y'all were on a run, a fantastic run.
It's true.
You grew together. You made music together. You know, he got better. You got better, and then it just stopped. As far as your connection with him.
Totally.
And I want to cry right now because, you know, I come from substance abuse. I came out on the good side of it. But, you know, a lot of people I know are in the ground, you know, because of that shit. And yeah, it's not a pretty thing. So, you know, for you to witness him spiral, it's rough. You know, I'm about to cry.
But
right
then
now,
like also like get like blamed for it.
Which is even worse.
Which is crazy, and it's like but it was like
you understood.
I understand why you're blaming me for this, but like, with all due respect, like, how do I explain you're wrong? You know, it's like, yo, you got it fucked up. Like, the things you think you're like I was like a part of. It's like, it's so insulting, and like I like. Fuck you to think that like I was part of this.
They're not gonna know, you know. They're not. They weren't
like,
there.
I'm still not an angel, right? Like like I have done like sketchy things with your son, but like I didn't. Like he figured this shit out on his own, my dear. You know, but
it was a rough.
You can hear it, man. Yeah, it's still like a confusing time in my life.
Yeah,
but it led me to just randomly making friends with other talented people.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for it. Again, like it just kind of like
everything fell in its place. The stars aligned.
That's kind of been the story.
It ended up good because you know your work ethic never died. It's just that, you know, it was a
who I was working with.
It was a speed bump in your career.
The people I was working with were still fucking.
I know, but
nuts.
I commend your spirit in the fact that you were able to pull it forward. Most people, that would affect them so much that they wouldn't be able to continue. You were able to continue, which is a good thing. It's just sad that, you know, both parties couldn't benefit from it, but that's just life, man. You know, life is unforgivable. Life is, you know, life just
unforgettable.
Right around this time period, the Slang Corp collective forms.
Yeah, give or take.
About, right? And Division East kind of ends at this point too, no? Division East Records?
Yeah, I mean, Dave and Shate were just like putting money into things that like weren't returning the investment. And like Pistol kind of came into play. He had a couple bucks. He was a dope rapper and like had a little network and like a couple little networks that like were just kind of, I don't know, not like that interested and like kind of burned out on like what the status quo would become, but like we're still dope, just like caught up. And yeah, Slang Corp started happening.
That was started by Pistol alone, or was that?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Pistol alone. It was
a lot of C minuses on the early.
Shave involved, Frank. It was just like everyone was tired of Division East because at that point it had like, dude, it like to run a successful like collective requires like real accountability.
Yeah,
and like motherfuckers weren't fucking with that, and like Slang Corp kind of became this thing that like, oh, other people like might be willing to worry about our accountability. Yeah. But they were dope, like also, you know what I mean? It just became like, it wasn't calculated, it wasn't strategic, it just kind of happened.
I gotcha.
it was still mismanaged. Like no diss to all those involved. Like it was still just kind of like a mess.
Yeah, everybody was in the learning stage.
And kept going, but at least Slancorp was like a website and a place. Like, dude, Slancorp was in a really important time because like we put out some really dope fucking records that were like download only on a website.
Shadow Box
that was
Cutter,
like, hard to find. Yeah, no, it was.
So at this point in your career, the third LP comes. To me, it's the third LP, but really, to the world, it's technically your second full length, which is Useless Eaters. And in my opinion, I know Realistic Expectations is kind of a fan favorite, but in my opinion, this is the most mature, complete, polished version of you.
Agreed. Yeah, no,
complete.
It's a way better record than Realistic Expectations.
Not only sonically, but like just you as a whole. What I don't even know what word I could call it, but that was like the record, the GDP record.
100%.
Of all time. And the cover art I thought was great. It's basically a picture of you standing in front of a church and the artwork is flipped upside down, which is kind of like a play on the upside down cross, which a lot of people like Golf Wang and all them were fucking with and stuff like that.
But like my shit came out before that. Then their shit started coming out and it was like, you guys are like this. And it was like, all right, how do we just...
I thought that was such a cool album cover. And what was the idea behind that? And that was your idea, but what made you do that?
I don't know. That church was just like around. I knew it was in The Sopranos. It was like close, and I was like, I just want something. Like I just saw it. Like I just saw it in my head.
What made you flip it like that? That was fire.
It just like occurred to me that like I just like knew that's what I wanted to do. And
I think that artwork.
It was funny when that record came out. I would see it in stores, and it was like right side up.
Because they didn't know.
Yeah, no, they didn't know.
I knew immediately when I said, this guy's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And I was wearing a shirt that said New York fucking City.
That's right.
And my homie Rob Sturman took that photo. I don't know. I thought the cover art like
was
I didn't have to think about it much. It was just like I was like, oh, this is what I should do. Like, I don't know. This is what I do.
I thought, dude, it was perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, it just felt right.
Like I said, most people could resonate with it by me saying upside down cross. They would know.
It wasn't upside down cross.
That's basically, but
it's like the fifth biggest church in the country.
But it was above. It was like a level above the upside down cross. You flipped the church on its head.
Yeah,
like that was like dude. That's like it's weird to say that, but that art cover. People don't give that cover enough credit.
Nah,
I got it 100%.
No one cared.
I got the vinyl chilling downstairs.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Anyway, the album title is called Useless Eaters. Where does that name come from? What was your inspiration behind that name and what made you name it? Useless Eaters.
I was feeling really negative about the future of the world at that time. And quite frankly, as things have played out, I was pretty on the money. But
yeah, pretty on the fucking money.
But back to then, yeah, it was a phrase used by Henry Kissinger in those days, and basically, dude, the record is about how like we've overpopulated this planet, and,
which
like,
we have.
So it just is what it is. And like, Useless Eaters was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, we're worried about things that don't matter, and while I hate the government, I'm going to use a phrase that has been like kind of coined by the same government that is like, fuck this all up to begin with.
Totally. I get it.
Like, yeah.
I thought
just poking holes in the whole fucking.
I thought it was brilliant. I just need the listeners to, get an understanding of where you're coming from, So this time period, along with the Magic Bullet EP cassette, which came out.
Came before it, yeah. So Jay Stampy was going through his shit. And honestly, through the magic of MySpace, I got connected with some very, very, very talented.
And that's what brings me to Aoi and the other guy.
Das 4GW.
Das 4GW. They're from Australia, no?
Yeah, all right.
And that took your sound to a whole nother level because they were very bit crunchy, video gamey.
They were from places where like, yeah, I'm from New York, where like hip hop, like it's happening in real time. they were from places that like just have to kind of mimic what's like actually happening, and they're like so obsessed with things that like us here don't care about anymore. And they're like, yeah, cool, you rap. You know what I mean? They're like just gotta get the embers of,
they're
like,
enamored, by like the shit they're getting hit with.
You just take what you can get. It's like a crackhead looking for fucking invisible crumbs under the fucking couch.
It took your sound to a new level, though.
It did.
Because it was totally different than what anybody here on the East Coast was doing. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally innovative. And it was refreshing, to be honest, especially since you just left Jay Stampy.
It happened so naturally. Like, it
was a natural rebuilding of your career.
Looking back on it, it's like, it's crazy. But, like, it wasn't like, I decided, like, nah, like, I just, like, met this kid on MySpace that was like, yo, come play some shows in Australia. Like, I ended up playing with, like, my first show in Australia was RZA.
Wow.
You know? Like,
That's
it just, like, worked out. And then all these dudes were, like, super cool and super talented and, like, gave more of a fuck about hip-hop than, like, my homies back home did, you know, and we just like vibed out.
I love the cover of the Magic Bullet EP. Your covers are always great.
So that record, all right, ready? So Alex Ayer from Death Traders had like decided on that cover for my homie Tyler, who's a tattooer now.
Which was Obama with basically taking place of JFK.
In the Misfits Magic Bullet record.
In the shooting.
Yeah, so the idea of it is like, yo, Obama ain't that... like he's still a politician. It was really Alex Ayer of Death Traders fame, and like he's just the Ray Pettibon of this generation. Made that graphic for my homie Tyler's band, who he did Death Traders with. They're called Spanish Moms, and they had this graphic that like they weren't using.
Oh, it's great.
And I love it. I saw it and I was like, yo, I was like, if you guys aren't, like, I was like, can I do that? Like, can I use that? Like, is that cool?
Oh, that's how that happened.
And he was like, yeah, like, fuck it. Like, yeah, I came up with this idea. Like, they're not, like, my homie's band who I did this for is, like, not seeing through with it.
I didn't even know that.
For obvious reasons. Like, it was pretty spicy at the time. Like, Obama was, like, good. So beloved. But I'm like, I just need to remind y'all that this is still a politician.
Yeah, so you link up with Aoy is the proper pronunciation, right? And Das Ford...
GW, DOS 4 GW.
Like I said, they had that like video gamey, bit crunchy.
They were just hip hop nerds.
But it sounded great with your stuff. And there's a record on that album that is my favorite. Like I mentioned before, how I love Coke Bar. I love the records that are very personal to you, that are involved with situations you've been through or experienced. My favorite record on that album is Oxy Polycontin. It touches briefly on what we've talked about before about Jay Stampy, who was very important in the birth of Miller's career here. And it just, every time I hear that record, I get not only goosebumps, but I get really sad. But I feel good because it's such a good fucking record. It's such a personal record to you. It's beyond just a record about, you know, Jay Stampy. It's actually touching on the birth of like kind of essentially the entire birth of the opioid epidemic, kind of. It kind of happened like all around the same time. You know, that time period was the beginning of it, and it took America by storm and, you know, almost wiped out like a whole generation.
No, I've seen it. I saw it coming. You know, by the time I made that song, I was like, oh my God. You know, like I can't.
It's a very important record to me.
I can't believe what is in store for like our nation's youth.
It not only affected Jay Stampy, it affected almost the lives of the entire rest of Division East and Slang Corp.
100%.
You know, what was that? What was that like for you? Can we touch on that a bit? I mean, without talking about what you don't want to talk about. You know, like I don't want to.
No, I get it. I understand the question. All right, ready? What it felt like was like, dude, it fucking sucked because it's like being right on the cusp of like, I know there's like a good idea here and like no one cares enough to really see it through. But then like when we get fucked up, everyone's like, yeah, like we gotta, you know, we understand like the brevity of like what's going on here. but like not actually. And it's like the worst feeling in the world, and I know you feel it. It's like to find out about something important, and the parties involved don't know how to like push it along, and it's like, dude, it's fucked up.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, that's what that song and that general sentiment means to me. It's like seeing something important like go to waste.
Yeah, it's sad because I know it took out, it changed the landscape of like all the artists on Slang Corp after that whole thing occurred. I know it changed everybody.
Yeah, it was already happening.
Except you, because you're a different animal. But it affected most of the people. I don't know.
I was just lucky, man. Like, dude, like it affected me too. Like, believe me. But like, I bobbed and weaved a little differently.
A little. Yeah, you're a special case, man. You're a very rare entity, if you will.
Nah, but it fucking hurt seeing people who I thought were like so talented.
And
like,
some of them are still going through it.
I'm
not going to say names, but some of the members of Slang Corp are still kind of like going through it, I didn't want to dive on that too much, but I just wanted to touch on it a little bit because it really relates to Oxypolycontin and like how that whole thing, it just like it lined up that way. Like after that record and after Jay Stampy, and that record was so important.
A story that no one ever heard is I heard some shit about Jay Stampy, and he was like going through it. And I emailed him and I was like, hey, bro, I hope you're good. I know we ain't talking in a minute. Like, I want you to hear this song I made about you.
Really?
Like, you'll know when you hear it. And I sent it to him, and he was like, holy shit. Like,
really?
Bro, like, I hear angels. Like, he's like, this is fucked up.
Oof,
like,
I got goosebumps. I never heard that story.
Before, I've never told the story. No one knows this. Me and him are the only people that like actually know this. But like,
man. You know what my life goal is, man? To get you and him in the same room here.
I would love to. And I don't really see why not. You might have to like buy him a plane ticket.
I don't give a
worst
fuck.
Case scenario. But
I'll come out pocket.
Bro, there's no bad blood.
There's no cost for passion, Papa.
Nah, bro. There's no dude, there's no beef.
I never said there was, but I mean.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all good. And
I would kill to have you and Jay Stampy in the same room with me. I would kill. Dude, I would love that more than anything.
It would really be funny to just like hear his take on all these things. Yeah,
it's in the universe. Down. We're gonna have a group hug, and we're gonna fucking do it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Anyway, to not try to be so sad and somber, Social Enema on that record. Useless Eaters.
Yeah.
I love it. It's another one of those like posse cuts.
Yeah.
I love that beat so much. Man. Dude, it's grimy. It's raw. Your verse is crazy. Pistol on it is exceptional as per usual.
That's for GWB.
Dude.
Young Z is a fucking
You guys
animal.
you and Pistol have such great chemistry, which also brings me, he has a big role to play in this record because didn't you record it with him the majority of it?
Yeah, I was gonna go to like a studio and an engineer and that whole thing, and then me and Pistol were like, "No, let's just do it us. Like, let's just nah." Like, I don't. At that point, I was like, "Yo, like, I trust you more than like wherever I'm gonna take this record."
And y'all ran with it.
Oh my god, dude, we're touring the world. Like,
I love it. I love that record.
He and I were basically like roommates.
You gotta tell me. Who's speaking on the beginning of that record?
Benny Two Bars.
It is? Yeah. It doesn't sound like him, though.
I promise it is.
Two herb dealers? That's not him.
What's funny is I use that clip and he didn't really know. Sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't tell you, Benny.
You guys got to hear this record, Social Enema.
But then, like, as time went on, he's like, "Yo," he's like, "Is that me at the beginning of that song?" Like, someone like brought that to my attention, kind of shit. I'm like, "Oh yeah,
dude, I love it, dude.
Like, that's you, motherfucker." And he's like, "Oh shit!" Like, wow.
To you guys that never heard that record, it starts in the beginning with somebody talking and telling a story, and then the fucking beat drops, and GDP kills it. But that record is, I'm telling you, it's the most.
It's hard, but
it's perfect.
But that track,
so good.
Benny, that's Benny Two Bars. Like, tell me this story. Time to go,
dude. Another part of that record that I love is Sha. Because he's at the end, kind of. He's kind of like what, if I remember correctly, he's once in like the middle of it, and then he's at the end.
He's on a couple tracks. Yeah, he's on like interlude guy.
Dude, I'll never forget the first time I met Sha was at your house. You had a party at your house. Your parents were away. We were at your house. First time I ever met Sha Money, right? He had literally those thick black garbage bags, kind of similar to the one to the right of you, filled with pot. I've never seen so much weed in one sitting.
Just like trying to smoke out.
Dude, I've never seen so much weed in one sitting.
At my parents' house.
Ever since then, I've loved that dude. And then we started nerding out because I'm a hip hop nerd and I love like the obscure. And there's a Canadian rapper named Mathematic that I love.
I know him, yes.
And he's got a record that came out and he knew about it. And he loved that record just as much as I did. So we both collectively geeked out on that record, Hard Body Karate. And you know, that's my introduction to Sha Money. I love that record.
It's a funny cat. Yeah.
Yeah, Sha's a special dude.
He is.
He's definitely a unique character.
Yeah, that's exactly how you would put it.
Yeah, he's a unique character.
Yes.
Then you start doing shit with Young Z. How did that relationship come to be?
I don't even remember. We just like got booked on his show at his crib, and like Z was just like out and about. Like I don't think he knew how much like we knew about him. You know, he thought we were just like some other motherfuckers. But then like we played a show at his house, and he was like, oh, whoa, like blown away by us. Low key, you know, like
yeah.
He heard Frank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like Z's a listener, bro. Z is like a rapper ass. Like, yo, if you're dope, Z will like recognize it. And just me and my friends.
Remember when Z was on the 8 Mile soundtrack?
Of course. Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
That was incredible.
Oh yeah, he said, I got weight and haze. My customers hoes sleep with me. We had small beef. I still sell them O's for $3.50. Bro, like
nobody raps like that, dude.
But I'm still taxing you.
Nobody raps like that, dude.
100%,
Nobody. Unique voice, unique flow.
Big beef.
Unique timing. Everything. I guess I could say the best closer of all time is Someday When Things Are Good. That's probably like the illest closer record of all time.
Insane, yeah. No, it's an insane way to end the album. I'll admit.
It's a really smooth transition into your follow-up record and most personal record to date, which is Holla.
And that wasn't the plan at the time. Like, that's just how it worked out. The only time I ever played Someday When Things Are Good was in Perth, Australia on tour when it was like this cat, The Empty Cup, who was like, I think a saxophone player, and my homie Das 40W, who was just like a dope producer. The only time I ever played that song live was in Perth, Australia, because the people who actually made that beat were there. And we rocked it, and there were like a handful of people in the crowd that like knew the song, but not really. And we just like rocked it, and it was like, you know, very emotional for like no reason.
Dude, it's a great transition to where you took your shit next. Like it's like every star aligned perfectly. It really sums up, like, to me, a true wrap up of your journey up until that point. Like the emotion of it, from the musical like landscape of it to your moving testimony.
Yeah, it was like a weird horny scumbag that like actually fell in love and then like had to like figure out what that meant in terms of like being a creative vagabond.
It's a special record, man. And then right after like Useless Eaters, you started the label Smoker's Cough.
Yes.
Which wasn't even really centered around you, was it?
You know, I believed in my friends for so long, and finally, like, someone was like down to give me a few bucks to like help them kind of see things to fruition. But like, also, you know how this game goes, bro. If you're not like hyper focused, like it's not gonna go too far, and it's just like it just kind of was what it was. The music I feel was like a decent level of quality, but.
Yeah,
it was a low ceiling.
That was kind of like when I fell off with what you were doing. I wasn't really keeping up as much as I was. A lot of stuff was like going on in my personal life, so I wasn't like too up on what you were doing.
I get it, bro.
I was up on it.
We were getting older. Like that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Like same shit. Like I benefited very much from like my younger friends like being excited about my music.
Yeah, I tried as much as I could. You know, at this point in your career, starting from the beginning up until Smoker's Cough, you toured a shit ton. All over the place.
A fair bit considering, I mean, not all over the place, but like I didn't have a booking agent. For someone that was just like figuring it out themselves, I played a lot of shows.
Dude, you've toured all over the globe. And what was really cool about you touring was, remember there was one tour, if I remember correctly, where you toured like almost basement parties exclusively.
Because I'm from the punk world, right? So like,
what was that like though? Like just touring people's basements. Like you, half the time you were in like people's homes and like they let you sleep there and shit.
Yeah.
Is there any tour stories that are so memorable you'd love to share with us?
I mean, what's interesting, it's like, dude, I'm from like the punk world where like playing shows in the basement is like not weird.
Yeah.
But then like hip hop, it like kind of is. So like it wasn't like shit was never like surprising to me. It was never like I can't believe we're doing this. This is so like avant-garde. This is like we're really reinventing the rule book. To me, it was like no, this is like protocol. Whether we're playing, whether I got to set up a drum set, or whether I'm like rapping about like having sex with girls, like it's kind of all the same. So yeah, there are definitely shows and like moments and like kind of follow through moments, especially like I can think, all right, so I was supposed to play in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was pissed off. The venue we were supposed to play at had like a shootout at it like the day before. It was like,
damn.
Yeah, someone like showed up and like licked a bunch of shots, and they were like, we're not doing our scheduled shows, like whatever. And this cat was like, yo, like my grandma owns like a trailer park thing. Like we could just play in this trailer. Like, if you guys want, like we could do a show at the trailer. I was like, and we were supposed, dude, it was fucked up, bro. We were supposed to play West Virginia the next day, and like one of the dudes from that group had like OD'd and died. Like, I was like, all right. I'm like, yeah, like let's just do this trailer park show. Whatever. We're like outside of Charlotte, like bumblefuck North Carolina, and it was like a great show. It was like 80 kids like wilding the fuck out, like in some trailer park living room. You know.
Do you have a favorite place that you ever played? Like is there a place that you toured or performed at that you could be like, you know, that was my favorite place that I ever performed at?
Dude, honestly.
Is the Meat Locker one of those places?
Yeah, like sure. There's like off homies being there and like proximity, like sure. But like I just played so many cool shows and I was randomly blessed in like random situations to like have really fun, like just like it was just by virtue of us being there.
I couldn't imagine. The tour life is fucking wild.
When it works, it works, you know, and when it doesn't, it's
too wild for me.
You reevaluate your decisions.
I'm a little more grounded for that shit. I can't do it. That wild lifestyle.
Most people are.
That nomad, like, you know, constantly on the move life. I can't do it, bro. I need schedule, routine.
Yeah.
I'm a robot. You know what I mean?
I understand.
I can't do that. But anyway, after that, your final last full length EP drops, which was called Holla. And it was in collaboration with the Wrong Address. Wrong Address is one person, correct?
It's one person, yeah, my friend Sean. He played in a band called the Mongoloids, who are a very popular New Jersey hardcore band.
I never heard. I should check that out.
They at the time, they were like just shit.
What's it called?
The Mongoloids.
I like that name. The Mongoloids.
They were like, you know, the bread and butter of New Jersey hardcore for a little bit. But, you know, sweethearts, dear friends of mine, and Sean and I kind of hit it off, and it was like the first like real breakup, and we were hanging out, and really, dude, I was so inspired by the man from Somewhere Else's record, A Boombox in Love Plays Love Songs. Do you know that record?
I have it.
That record is unbelievable.
Man.
That is my OG. And you want to know what? On a professional level, what really like inspired me to want to make that? It was right around the song Drake's Marvin Room. That song like made me want to make Holla, honestly.
Really?
Yes.
That is very special to me because I'm a big Drake stan.
No one knows that. I've never said it to anyone.
I'm a big Drake stan, so that resonates with me.
Holla is a combination between Marvin's Room and the man from Somewhere Else.
Wow.
Do the math. Like that's how that happened.
My mind.
Yeah. I never like said that, but like that's the truth.
Dude, a lot of my friends are very shocked when they hear that I'm like a huge Drake stan.
Yeah, because he's like, it's so obvious. But like, dude, he's fucking good.
Even the custodian of records, and I quote him by saying Drake is an ill lyricist.
Yes. Oh my God. That's like understating.
Cats are just mad because he's like the mainstream GOAT.
Yeah, no, he's corny as a person, but like as an artist, he's a god.
What can't he do?
Right. Like, he's made the most important songs of the last 15 years, and there's more to come. Yeah, do I want to like go play pool with Drake? Like, not really. But
musically, though,
if he puts something out, I'm gonna go see what it is.
Dude, that's crazy to hear that Holla was inspired by Frank as well as Drake. That's wild. That's like,
put that together, and that's that record.
That's wild. You're blowing my mind.
Think about it.
Yeah, you're blowing my mind.
That's what it is.
It won't even hit me until tomorrow. I'm gonna wake up.
Dude, I've never explained it to anyone, but that's me.
There's a lot of world premieres tonight.
But no one gives a fuck, because you're asking questions that like no one ever cared enough to even think about to ask.
But that's what I wanted. When I wanted to interview you, I wanted to ask you stuff that nobody's ever asked you, because this stuff's important to me. I don't give a fuck what they ask you.
Right.
I care what I ask you.
Yeah,
this is stuff I either wanted to know or I wanted my listeners to know.
Beautiful.
To get to know who you are before they even listen to you for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
So now when they listen to you, they're going to take this 3 hours into consideration. They're going to be like, now I feel like I kind of know where this dude's coming from. I know who he is. So now when I listen to his music, I can relate on a different level than I would if I listened to it raw.
Yeah.
Holla to me was great. I think it's actually the most unappreciated record that you've ever put out.
Well, it's very niche.
But if you go back to what I was saying before, I loved Coke Bar. I loved Oxy Poly Content. I love these personal records.
Times when I bared my soul. Yeah, Holla
is your most vulnerable state that you've ever been in. You went through a breakup. It
was my first real breakup. Like that was like I didn't know what it was like to like fuck up love.
Those records take me to a really dark place that I live vicariously through you. Dude, it's a real dark record.
It's dope that like a lot of like my closest friends, when I put those records out, were like, all right, dude, like, yeah, like that's what you're doing. Like, what? Yeah, okay.
Really?
And then like come back, but then comes back years later and like, in my darkest moments, that record means a lot to me. It's like, whoa, like cool. Because that, dude, the only reason that record happened is because it helped me through some like dark places. And then like my friends didn't really care or need it at the time. But then like as years went on, we're like, it was like a life vest.
I love that record so much.
Yeah, it's the power of art. I'm not trying to like beat myself up. It sounds like it. It's just the power of music, man. It's why I fucking make like not good in the whole scheme of life decisions. That's the result of just like not following the script or whatever.
I love who's that dude on that one record? Dumbledore.
Yeah, my homie Pete, bro. I was living in Philly.
I love that guy. That guy makes that record.
Genius. He's so cool, dude. He's so cool.
I would love to meet him one day.
You would love him.
I would.
He's such an interesting cat. This is my homie Pete. That was Wicked Face's first record too, man. That was like,
wait, what?
Wicked Face is on that album. That was his first like proper like debut.
Where on that record is Wicked Face?
I would sing mascara.
That's him?
That I saw you in my room.
That's Wicked Face?
Yeah, bro. That was like the homie. So, dude, I recorded a whole record over Keyboard Kid Beats, who was like Lil Beats producer. He was coming and just hanging out with me in Brooklyn. Yeah, well before he was like down with Lil Peep and all those people. Like,
yeah,
that was his first like proper
Goth
release.
Boy clique,
I
right?
put him on. And dude, he's got a song called Like LeBron, his first lyric, like, shout out GDP, that's my man. That's like, dude, it's like so like rugged, but
oh man,
I just,
that record is about more specifically one girl that you were dating at the time, right? Was that the suicide? What do they call those girls?
Suicide girls.
Was that one of them? No,
her. No,
because I know you were dating one, or you messed with one for a little bit.
I messed with one. She was a crazy person. That was a record before it. That record was basically about like one main girl and then the girl that was like supposed to take my mind off the main girl.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Shout out everyone that was in my life at that point. That was like my first like real breakup, and it was I was having a very hard time wrapping my head around it.
I love that record.
It produced.
I love that record.
Yeah, it just is.
What? I have a couple questions. Where'd the name Holla come from?
Dude,
Why'd you name it Holla?
A joke. So, shout out John Poverty, Jersey guy, hardcore guy, a tattooer, and he had a spot, a tattoo parlor on like Montrose or whatever called Duck Duck, and it was next to I'm trying to remember now. Either the bar was called Duck Duck and the tattoo shop was called Goose, or the tattoo shop was called Duck Duck and the bar was called Goose. But it was like a 2-part like thing. Our homie John tattooed there, and me in the wrong address. Like we knew him well when we were over there. We were drinking, doing whatever, and I like tattooed like a spade. So I'd never tattooed before. I put like a machine in my hand, and I put a spade on my homie's like cat. Yeah. We were just like being nuts,
just messing around.
And there was some Sailor Jerry flash. It was like an envelope and the wrong address, and I had like already been like working on these songs, so we were like drunk. Basically, and I was like, dude, what if we did that envelope tattoo and like it just said a holla on it? He was like, yo, that's so funny.
So that's how that name came.
So we both tattooed it on each other at the same point. And if you look at the record, it's this tattoo. You see it right here.
Shit, yeah.
So I tattooed this on him in the same spot, the exact same spot, and it's like I tattooed this on him, he tattooed it on me, and it just said holla. Wow. It was just like a funny thing to write under an envelope. And then, like, for days moving forward, we're like, I would text me, like, holla. Like, wow. What up, holla? And then I was like, yo, we should just call the record that. Like, it's so stupid, but, like, it's like honestly, like, ridiculous name for a breakup record.
And what made you put your grandparents on the cover?
It was
in relation to the subject
like, honestly,
matter.
Nothing, dude.
So you just felt like doing it, just random?
I shot a photo of that photo was shot on Thanksgiving. I just got the film back, and I was like, "Oh, this photo's so cool."
Yeah, I love the fucking.
Dude, you know, like everything. It seems like this like idea, dude. It just.
But there was no like significance to your relationship with it. It was just like
nothing.
The name and the cover are kind of random.
It's not kind of like completely
actually random,
100% random,
as opposed to the actual content. Interesting.
All random.
That's cool to know that. I didn't know that.
It was an inside joke. So then, when you get the record, like side A is like the tattoo he shot on me, and like side B is like the tattoo I put on him. So it's like both of our holla tattoos. It's like we gave each other homie tattoos that said holla before we decided on that name. And then I was like, yo, this photo of my grandparents is incredible and like kind of explains the bond that I'm like talking about falling apart within that.
Yeah.
And then my homie Ahmed Clank, who's like an incredible photographer, shot a photo of me in the wrong address, like smoking weed and laughing, and in my old apartment in Brooklyn.
That's fucking dope.
And we just used that for the insert, and it kind of mirrored my grandparents' photo. Like it was just honestly is a series of happy coincidences.
This is your last full length. Is there a reason why that's your last one? You haven't released a full length since. When was Holla released? Was that
2013, man, 10 years ago.
And you haven't dropped an album in 10 years.
10 years.
You dropped projects, but not an album.
Not projects, just like random
singles,
like random collabs that like I didn't drop, but like I was like affiliated with, or like things out of my control. I was like, oh shit, like yeah, I like gave you a verse, and now it's on the internet.
Yeah, do you plan on dropping another GDP album one day?
No,
because it's been 10 fucking years. Man. I'd love to hear a new one.
Years, bro. It's so funny, and I'm rapping better. I feel like now than I ever have. I'm finally like not like embarrassed by the work I'm making.
My favorite thing about you is you featuring on a track. That's the thing. Is like some people, you know, when they ask to appear on a track and they're feature on a track, they either sometimes go hard or they just treat it like just an extracurricular activity that they don't really care much about, and they just go. When you do a fucking feature, it's my favorite. Whenever I see a song and it's featuring GDP, I know that verse is going to outshine every single MC on that motherfucker. Dude, any song you feature on,
what's
you
funny,
body.
Dude, what's so funny is like if we were a little focused, like all that Slang Corp shit happened like within a few days. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that shit was like not very spread out. Like we made a few songs within like a few days, and then like let's work on music. Like what are we doing? Like and everyone was like, yo, let's like get some beers and like chill. And I'm like, no, like let's make a song. Like I was the annoying one. I was the youngest one, and I was kind of like the puppy. And
you were hungry.
Like, everyone was like, dude, shut up.
Yeah, but your features, dude, you outshine. That's the best part.
Arguable. I don't know.
When somebody asks you to feature on a track, you're supposed to do what you do. You gotta go hard because they're accepting your talents. They appreciate what you do, and they want you to appear on their track. So it's like hiring somebody to do construction on your crib.
It's a stunt cock,
and you want them to fucking make that shit immaculate. Right. You don't want them to come here and do some fucking low level job where you gotta hire somebody else to fix what they fucked up. No, you come, you deliver, and you conquer, and your features are unmatched.
Dude, I think now more than ever.
Unmatched.
Honestly, not for nothing, I've like finally like really dialed in how to like rap good.
I can't wait to hear it. You're fucking just teasing me. You're just teasing me.
I'll send you some records. Yeah,
please.
Like, it is like
please.
All right, yeah.
So speaking of that, what are you up to nowadays musically? I know you started a new project called Orange Crystal, and it's unlike anything you've ever done.
It's definitely not hip hop, but
no,
but also like it's in there.
What could you even call it? Like, it's fast drum and bassy. Like as far as tempo,
for me, it's like I don't know. Like what one song was is not what the next song will be. It's
I guess
like
so.
Orange Crystal has kind of just become like an umbrella of like. I don't know.
Cool. It's not my typical music taste.
No,
I'll be honest.
It's not most people's, bro.
Yeah, it's not really my thing.
You're not insulting me.
It doesn't mean I don't respect it. It's just not my thing.
No, it's just not. It's not sounds you want to hear. It's abrasive.
It's not my thing. It takes a lot of energy out of me when I listen to it.
I get it.
It beats your eardrums up. That's why, like, I can't listen to. I don't know how to pronounce this correctly. Autechre or Autechre. You know that band? Mm-mm. Check them out. So they're like an old noise band, and they used to make all their music on Max MSP. You familiar? Mm-hmm. So these guys are like mathematicians. You can't make music on that unless you're like incredibly brilliant. But a lot of their stuff, it's very taxing on the ear. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that noise stuff hurts my ears. And then on top of that, you're accompanying it with screamo lyrics. Not screamo, but you're screaming a lot.
I'm screaming, yeah.
So it's kind of like, that accompanied with it kind of hurts my ears.
It's abrasive, yeah. It's supposed to be overwhelming, but it's a reflection at this point of like what I was going through at the time I made it. And,
gotcha.
I totally get why that would be confusing to.
Yeah, it's not my typical thing.
People that like want to hear rap music, but like, it's just like always been about expressing oneself, you know, and like that's it.
No, I respect anything you do, dude, whether I agree with it or not. Where'd the name come from? You touched on it a little bit earlier, but what's Orange Crystal from?
Obviously, Orange Water was a very popular song of mine.
Very.
Right? And that was like a low-key PCP reference.
It was an anthem, too, for the town of West Orange.
But I was hanging out with like a bunch of fucking dust heads at the time, and like that was kind of the joke. And then back in the day, like on like FBI, like slang watches, like Orange Crystal was like slang for PCP.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But then in my mind, it's like, all right, when water is underground long enough, it crystallizes. So like Orange Water is my biggest song.
Yeah.
And the water has crystallized. So it's like, I've been underground long enough that like
come full circle.
It's Orange Crystal, and both just mean PCP. And I've always just been a fan of a razor blade and a cake. It's like both are just references to like terrible, fucked up shit. But like Orange Water has just turned into Orange Crystal because it's been underground for so long. And if you know what either, it's like awful shit.
But what's weird too is like I told you earlier when we were talking to each other, Orange Crystal to me seems like a culmination and collective of your entire music career jumbled into one
It is.
You know what I mean?
I would think so.
Starting from Post Office Gals with the grindcore and the rap and the, all the bands.
When all is said and done, it will be. I hope there's hip hop sensibility in
there is
in vocal cadences and stuff,
and your energy on it and the subject matter.
Yeah,
definitely very hip hop.
Dude, it was just a cathartic release for me at a time. I wasn't like aiming to make that, but it was just like I stumbled backwards into some weird freaky
How's
shit.
the feedback been on it? You've been touring as Orange Crystal, no?
A little bit, yeah. I played some shows as it. Dude, like pretty good, like better than I expected. Like I knew like a bunch of people weren't gonna like it, but then like more people fucked with it, and like I would have thought. Yeah, like I realize it is very like abrasive kind of.
Yeah, it's the acquired taste.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, but like people vouching, like it's cool how many people have like vouched for it.
That's cool.
Since.
So, do you plan on dropping anything GDP soon, later?
Yeah,
never.
No,
because we miss you and we want a full length.
Yeah, not multiple full lengths. Because the thing is like, dude, for me to like. Do GDP stuff. It's like I understand how hip hop works. It's like it can't just be a record or two. If like, if I'm gonna like drop some GDP shit, it's got to be like a fair little amount of it.
I understand.
That's how the game has been designed at this point. Yeah.
So
yeah, I got some.
That's good news.
I got some cool songs left in me. I feel like it's like my best.
That's good news.
But yeah, a couple of GDP records, Orange Crystal, like soon to come. It feels time. It was always like about what felt right and like what I felt like doing. And the phone is ringing.
Yeah.
The phone is ringing at this point. You can't make it ring.
I feel you.
You can't IP relay that shit. It's just like is what it isn't.
IP relay, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of GDP. I have a couple of questions for you. I'm going to wrap this up soon. I listened to an old interview of yours with the formative one. Do you remember?
No.
So in that interview, you mentioned that Killer Whale.
Oh yeah.
Is the favorite track that you wish you made. And to be honest, bro, I couldn't agree more.
That song is incredible.
That record is TMFSC, who we talked about a bunch tonight, Frank. And Shape, and it's called Killer Whale, produced by C-.
made the beat, and Pistol made the video.
He's incredible, right? You know what my favorite Team FSC song is? In the Night Kitchen. Bro, that song to me is the most incredible TMFSC record of all time.
Cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Carson was just like in his bag making tracks.
In his bag ain't the word. That beat is bananas in pajamas, bro.
Yes, it's true. In the Night Kitchen is where the wild things are wildin'.
That song was about heroin, essentially, no?
It was, yes.
Crazy. I had to bring that up because I remember listening to that interview and hearing you talk about that. All right. So before I wrap this up, when you were in the Rutgers era, like I talked about earlier, I was there. I got Stony Baloney with you off a couple fresh giggle sticks.
Giggle sticks. Yep, giggle sticks.
Inhaling that fresh celery. Anyway, you had a special poetry book that you hand wrote, which I would kill to have the original of that.
I don't know where that is.
Don't say that to me.
I don't know where it is. I know what you're talking about. God knows.
I will help fund it. Let's please fucking release it. Dude, I'll pay for the whole thing, Matt.
Yeah,
let's release that. One specific story you shared with me that night. We were so high and drunk.
I remember what you're talking about. I don't know where
Jay Stampy was comatose in the corner.
Yeah. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but I was like, oh, my friend needs help.
That affected me when you showed me those poems.
Yeah, I know, I remember.
One story in particular was about a homeless guy that actually offered you money.
Yes.
Ever since you told me that night, I've wanted those poems released in print. Please.
I'd have to do some digging.
Plug yourself. Give your ats, your Instagram, your website, future projects, all that. Plug it all in.
I'll make it easy.
Where can they find you?
GeorgeDouglasPeterson.com, at George Douglas Peterson, at G6D6P6. Yeah, that's easy. That's the easiest place to find out about what I'm up to.
P6D6,
G6D6P6. GDP and 666.
in between each
Combine
letter.
it. Yeah, it's quite simple.
At
and
Instagram.
I'm gonna keep making wild shit. If you'll take the journey, God bless you.
Let's do this. Thank you so much for coming. I've been trying to get you in this seat for fucking months. That's why we had to make this such a long pod, because it was long overdue. I wanted to cover your entire career, which I'm so thankful for.
We did good. Yeah, no,
we did good.
That was fun.
Thank you, man.
We rambled
Rambled
and scrambled. Yeah.
Ramble rouser.
If anyone is still listening to this, bless your heart.
I love you. Peace. Uno.
Love you more.
Gandhi.
Dos. Peace.